Ira, Hangatyr, and Gunnaldr around you, those men who aren't incapacitated or laying screaming, are standing, thrusting up their weapons, night skyward, exulting, "Victory, Gunnaldr!" Eric, it's ringing out and joining in with the din of the house fires that are flaring, that light the grim scene. At that moment, there's a great screeching sound of rusted iron protesting as the great doors of the hall of Sudbrand are thrown open and a light pours out. Catch it in your periphery, Hangatyr, in turn, and for a moment think, "Oh, he must have cut my throat. Here's the Valkyrie come to take me." But the vision warps and you see what the others see. A woman who can't have seen 20 winters, dressed in like a burnished, coppery sort of maiden's arms, and she strides forth, backlit by the hearth glow, which makes silhouettes of the small folk muling there, and she cries, "Enough! Peace! Throw down your arms! Please!" she pleads. "Please!" But many do not hear her words, all see her. From the beach to the ditch, you see her. Eric's face grows dark and he turns to regard you three.
Hangatyr is beyond seeing sense, and so can't really weigh in. He'll just like see this for a second and realize that he's going to corpse hall, and so he's going to take as many of them as he can with him. And so like turning from whoever's in front of him, he's going to grab the nearest man and start punching or stabbing or whatever, because he can't stop.
What do you do, Ira?
Yeah, Ira will be taken aback seeing the young woman there, and she'll kind of turn instinctively over to look at Gunnaldr to like await to see what the orders will be, if we're going to stop and sue for peace or if the slaughter is to continue. She'll kind of hold the spear tentatively in her hand, a bit unsure of how to act.
Yeah, through the din, Gunnaldr looks over and has a similar reaction, seeing such a young maiden pleading for the chaos to stop. And of course, he looks over and sees Hangatyr in his berserker state, just ceaselessly pushing on. And is this maiden, how sort of close is she? Would she be in earshot if he were to try and address her over the din, or would he be able to maybe break and move over towards her?
Yeah, if you move towards her and like try to compete with the sound of horror, you could reach her ears.
Yeah, I think he would do that, and would call out something along the lines of, "We will not lay down our weapons. If your people stop fighting, they will stop dying."
She looks across to see Eric moving up to join you. Do either, I guess Hangatyr doesn't, but Ira, do you join in? Or do you stay back with the fighting?
Yeah, Ira will definitely move up next to Gunnaldr as he moves forward, especially hearing him call this out, and will kind of like stand attentively next to him.
She eyes the blade in Eric's hand, and her face grows sad and loses much of its like confidence. "So it was you," she says to the three of you, "whom slew my brother Orn, and now have slain my father Oleg, and made me Thane. I am Björg. I give you peace. I accept your demands. I offer you my father's gold. Lay down your arms. And she says that above you. Lay down your arms, she screams, her voice breaking. And what few Asbloth warriors are standing, like will throw down arms or maces, axes, spears down to the muddy blood, and kind of reel back, overwhelmed. A few, though, just cut down in the senselessness, especially those closest to Hangatyr. And eventually, like a queer ripple through a dark pond, the steel begins to grow silent.
A wise
Eric.
decision, Björk. A wise decision. And Gunnaldr looks over, seeing her glance at the sword that Eric's holding, and her reaction to it. Yes, it was us. But did your kin not come in the night to take us? He says as he's panting with just splattered in blood all over him.
I warned Orn and my father of their follies. But some men are stupid.
Perhaps if they had stayed here, they could have made the difference in this assault. But here we are.
Here we
now you
are.
are all Gunnaldrs, he says with a smile, looking over to Eric.
She nods, looking down in kind of like a submissive gesture. Eric at that point grabs you by the shoulder and makes a crude triangle with yourself and Ira, turning inward and like in a hissing yell, I guess, really, above the sound of like battle and burning about. We should kill her now and be done with it, and take all therein as thralls of this place. None need know this is a trouble we do not need. And he looks, he has like a fearsome look on his face, a worried look, as he often does, because he's overcautious. To you, Gunnaldr, when he turns his face to you, Ira, it's like that look of wanting you to back him up to Gunnaldr. But what do the two of you do?
I think Gunnaldr would, his eyes would widen a little bit, and he'd, at Eric's suggestion, and he'd glance over to her, just briefly outside of the little huddle, and then look back in, and look to Ira for her personal opinion, but also sort of the guidance. Would the gods endorse this course of action, given the purpose that we're in these lands for?
Yeah, so that's something that I think Ira would know better than I would, as far as like surrender protocol, and if the sort of thing would like stand as any sort of like official error, like if we killed her or not.
Did she bring a branch?
Yeah, that's what I was
Nope.
going to ask.
She has no weapons in her hands, but she is dressed as if for war. In more of a certainly a ceremonial eye to anyone with any martial mounts, like a royal guard, not a grizzled veteran kind of armor.
So I think like legally, it's probably fine to do whatever. Legally, in terms of like what the gods would think, but it's good that you're trying to surrender, and like it would be like a willful misunderstanding of that, But I don't think you'd be in trouble with Odin. But
yeah, so I think Ira would turn to you, Gunnaldr, and her words would say, practically speaking, it'd be better if she were dead for us, and Odin would not slight us for it. But her face would say, like, killing this young woman clearly makes her very uncomfortable, and that she would prefer not to have to do that. But she's like not willing to say those words in the sight of these two glorious mailed captains standing around her.
He looks, nods to Ira, and looks back to Karl Erik, and just returns a grim nod, and turns to walk towards Björk, his sword in hand, unstraps his shield and slings it over his back, and draws in his other hand his Sayax, and tosses the Sayax, or if you can get sort of close enough, and she's not behind any walls or anything, as I understand it. He would toss the Sayax down to her feet, and just stand there with his sword in hand. Pick up the weapon, girl.
I think she slaps you with a strength blood by years in size. A starstruck slap across the face. Her will cracks, like a fault runs up it, and tears that were held back now spill down. And you see her for what she is, a frightened woman in a hellish predicament who's thrown her last die. And then she will go down for the sword and pick it up, holding it at her side like someone might hold a knife aside while they chide someone nearby.
He'll just nod, and just as soon as she has the blade in hand, and is standing up straight enough, sort of facing him, he'll just move in, and just say, as he steps and closes the distance to her, I don't think he would apologize, but I think he would say, Sudbrand is ours now. You're better off going to see your family and the Allfather, and just move the sword to just skewer her, doing what he sees as what must be done.
She sighs blood and falls back from this place, and the slaughter becomes absolute. Eric approves, and it's visible by his face next to you, Ira, and that grim expression seems like an orchestra, a conductor rising up the symphony of violence even higher here, and looking about. Men take it as assent to their conduct, and the flames show grisly sights. And you see the light of the Valkyrie go out, Hangatyr. Oh, sorry, Ira, go for it.
So the Ira would, like, as she sees Gunnaldr walking towards her, like, she would, like, be saying in her mind, just, like, yell for him to stop. It's like, pause the slaughter. Like, it's not worth, like, killing a young girl for this. But she's, like, unable to speak. And she will not turn her head to avoid casting doubt into the others around her. But she will, like, shut her eyes discreetly as this young girl is run through. She like can't help but imagine herself being there, and like what she would do in this situation and how it could possibly play any differently. And she'll let out a tension in her breath she didn't know she had after she sees the girl on the ground, and then like see the improvement from Eric next to her, and like not know what to say or what to do.
A man with one hand and a stump for another raises them both up to you. They look like eels for a minute, Hangatyr, before they become hands again. No, he's trying to say a manner of other things through teeth and blood, but it makes him inaudible, and soon he disappears from your vision, and you nearly stumble over into bloody spume of the ankle-deep seawater and turn back to see the flaming Helheim.
Yeah, he's not thinking, he's just killing. We probably can't even tell who's who anymore, and so anyone who looks at him in the wrong way is going to get hit. He's probably like howling, and he can't speak because he's got this big hole in his face from where he's been hit with the sword, and so like this big chunk missing of bone from his chin. So he's just like screaming and running around, and thinking like the Valkyrie is gone, so maybe I'm not going, or I'm going somewhere worse, and so I have to making sure they see me. And so he's like trying to say witness me, and like take this offering, like with every skull he smashes against a rock, or every sword he stabs into someone or every axe he slashes into a skull. But yeah, there's no sign of him stopping.
Down on the beach, Eric looks, wondering what to do, and I guess since he's close to you, Ira, he might draw your attention there, where you see this ring of steel, like this ring of your battle brothers, forming up like a spear throw from Hangatyr, like moving away and like gathering as they do, like away from his arc of insane fury, and people like grow disquiet down there, even as all the Asblothers now are either surrendered or slaughtered. This man is lost in the battle craze. To you, Hangatyr, it appears like grim, nasal-faced warriors in the darkness standing around you, like warriors innumerable. For from them, an old man strides forth through the sea water, crooked back, one eye shut to the world, the other milky white, and a staff. He leans and with his old slit of a mouth calls, "Peace, peace now, son."
Yeah, he's like probably in the middle of like shoving his thumbs into someone's eyes, and then like we'll see the man, and like let out a sigh, and when he does so, like all this blood will roll down his face and onto the ground. Odin. And I guess he'll like start breathing a little bit slower, but he still is standing and like, I guess like his muscles are like twitching weirdly, and he's like flexing and unflexing his hands, making fists and then unmaking them, but eventually he'll come to a stop.
He'll move towards you, and even though his arms look like feeble, bony straw, he like holds you sterner for it as he grows close and coalesces into Gunblindi. "Come, come, son, come. The foeman is vanquished. Look," and you can see the pink water by the flames of buildings and men moving about, methodically ending those that remain or dragging away their wounded friends. "Thy battle kiss is great," and he points to below your vision.
I saw Valkyrie.
"I did hear her call."
He like brings his hand up to feel through the beard, like what's happened, and then like flinches from the pain. And then he like looks around and probably like takes in. I imagine there's like a pretty straight line of like paste in the way that he's been going, of like people that he's killed or re-killed or maimed or whatever else. And then it like starts to hit him how like exhausted he is and how much pain he's in from the wounds that he's taken. And so he like looks at Gunblindi and nods. I have to fix this.
"You must see Thredder. He does well with them."
I will. And he'll start stumbling in the direction of wherever he can go to get this fixed.
I assume you obviously don't join in the slaughter, Ira? As you mentioned, you like kind of closed your eyes to it, but after it begins to die away, do you do anything in particular? Do you go up to where Gunblindi is at the hall, or down to where Hangatyr is?
Yeah, I think she would see Hangatyr having come down from the rage that he had been in, and seeing him return. Will like first breathe a sigh of relief that he was able to return at all, and that not too many of their own people would have fallen to him, hopefully. But then seeing the blood just continuing to gush from his face, I think would go to move to intercept him, and trying to catch up to wherever he was heading. And she would say, "Let me look at that wound on your face. I may not be able to fix it entirely, but I can dress it, make sure that it stays well enough."
It's not so bad. He like tries to say, but he can't really speak properly because of the missing part of his face. But he nods and like slows down.
Yeah, so I imagine she'll gather some very crude supplies. In order to actually heal it, we'll need a lot more time than we have like in this moment, but I'd at least like to try to like dress it, enough to the point where it's not going to like give him an infection or some terrible death that'll catch him at a bad time.
You feel the presence of Eric behind you, Gunnaldr, and hear his words over the sounds of battle dying out. The right choice, Captain. A hard choice and a cruel one, but a good one. Captains must know when to make hard choices. At sea, there is only victory or defeat.
It will be the first of many, I'm sure. I thank you for your guidance, Captain Eric. He says, and his hands are shaking quite a bit, I think, as he straps his shield back on and just grips it really tight, and just grips his sword, probably back in its scabbard now after wiping it, but just gripping the handle and the pommel, going white knuckled, trying to stop his hands from shaking. But here on shore, a victory, no defeat for us. Victory for Gunland.
And Yargunna, and gold for us. I heard the maiden's words. We should tear this place apart and find it.
There will be much to find. The crew will be happy. The crews.
He smiles wolfishly, and after a moment steps back, draws his blade and points inside the building and roars, which summons mailed men and more fire in, and our vision of this place fades. Time shifts, and dawn glows. Hrafngeir, as you and the other light troops make your way back by that rising light, escorting a long, grim column of thralls and prisoners of Sudbrand back inside of the horror that's been done there. And at first, what are just intermittent bodies, porcupined with spears or arrows, soon becomes a carpet of grey and red folk. Some look up at you unseeing. Others are dragged away where pyres are being built, and those lucky enough to still live are being taken to a barn requisitioned for the wounded. And you see men, Gunland men, moving about in that heady, exultant manner after a victory, and shout to the gods and give you well-wished welcome when you come in with the thralls and prisoners, and no fewer for the men for going with it. Scarm looks weary beside you, and the work of the last hours has affected his spirit, though he trudges on alongside you and is grateful for a building that is not burning to lean his back up against and catch his breath, while other men come to dissect the groups of thralls and prisoners you've brought and take them wherever thralls go. Looking about, you can see the beach, some bodies still float in it, where the ships are drawn up nearby the three Nars, now presumably belonging to your captains. And at the rise beyond the bodied ditch, there is a hall where both standards of the Nameless and the Sudbrand hang limp in the grey morn. Smoldering buildings send up black stacks to the gods, and choke the air and mingle with the smell of bowels.
I would look to Skull as our thralls are getting taken away into smaller groups. I think it would be wise to see the captain, tell him of our success.
He nods and will look about, and after a moment locate someone known to him and call out, "Dorback, on, and the big man will like stop and turn and give an almost goofy smile in your direction. Where's Hildig? Where's the Lucky? And he just points up to the barn where you'd seen the twin flags. Yonder. And he gives like a toothy smile and goes off to whatever like duty he'd previously been on. And Scarm looks to you. There you have it. But there Gunmagan will be also, and I have no wish to see him this morning. I am ill enough from the work. I will find a place and then set to whatever task you bring back from Heldig. And he'll nod to you in an absolving manner, an understanding one.
The thought of Gunmagan creeps down my spine, but I must go see the captain. So I'll head in that direction. I'm trying. It's probably not. You said there's like a carpet of bodies here. I'm gonna do my best to avoid like obnoxious scenes of carnage, but if it's not completely possible, I'm just gonna make the fastest route.
Sure. Inside the long hall, you can see signs of destruction, and Carl Eric sitting at a table where like food has been laden up. He slams his hand down on the fist twice and makes a horrid oath, turning his head away as men like still pillage the larders, cupboards, crawl spaces of this building. And you see Gunnaldr, I guess, probably looking shakily. Ira and Hangatyr are not here, but Gunmagan and one of his men are, and bloody from their involvement on the beach beyond.
I would approach Gunnaldr. It seems I will not have to hunt for the food this evening. We have many spoils.
Aye. The maiden Björk was not lying. The larders are full.
Aye, and there's arms and mail from the battlefield, but the gold, and then he like looks about the place wrathful.
Hardly think she would be lying. Although maybe it was an attempt to spare her life. We will keep looking.
He will, and go off with some of his men to do just that, leaving you with Hrafngeir.
Aye, so you can have a rest from the hunt for a night or two at least, eh? As he claps Hrafngeir on the shoulder. And he'd probably notice that his grip is maybe not as firm as it usually would be, or that he doesn't hold his hand there for as long as usual, and takes it away. And you can see that he's still sort of trying to stop his hands from shaking a bit. What did you find?
Thralls that escaped, prisoners. Rounded up as many as we could. Killed what scouts remained. The procedure of war.
As we are learning it firsthand, my friend. You've done good work. How many thralls?
I didn't count. Skalm did, but he requested not to come see you while Gunmagan was present.
Gunnaldr's mouth would twist a little in sourness. I'm sure Hrafngeir does as well at the mention of Gunmagan. And he looks around, and you said he's in this he's in the hall as well, is he, Nico?
Yeah, he is. He sits with one of his men, not involving himself in any of the hard toil after the battle, and resting in that, like, if you imagine in a way like, oh, I'm so exhausted by how much I contributed to that, and like sitting back as like nobles tend to do after battles.
Under my command, Hrafngeir, crew members of the Nameless will get what they earn. Seems to me you have earned quite a lot. have a look through the larders and see what you can find for yourself.
Very well. This was a good plan. We'll solidify you among the crew.
Yes. Here's hoping. They fight well. Not too many of them are warriors, but I think we'll need to train every day if we mean to make a good mark on this land and spread the Yaldum, the great Yaldum of Gunland, across this side of the sea.
For Gunland.
For Gunland. Claps him on the shoulder again and gestures for him to go off and find himself some spoils that he's earned.
So Ira, next to you, Thredder is sitting. He's a bald man with quite a lazy eye, though he sees as well as any. He's a Shurijan on the Nameless. He's taught to sew by his grandmother and applied it from a young age in this capacity as a crew member, and has never been so scared of a patient before as he looks at the table where Hangatyr swoons. And he looks back to you, shaking as he takes like the instruments that have been boiled in ale, and he takes them up with cloth in hand, ready to stitch the skin across the exposed bone and clear out so the curse can't set in. And he looks at the corded muscles and the signs from scars of wounds that you've borne, and sees you heightened breadth revealed. And looks for reassurance to Ira as the eyes of Hangatyr roll. You should hold him down.
Ira will nod. Yes, and I have some other ways that I think will help to keep him calm. So I actually have something. I don't know how much time we'll have today before we need to be present, but I actually do have a thing that I picked up as one of my class things. It takes 8 hours to use, though. So I don't know if he would have that sort of time right now mechanically to do that.
I think, like, given that, like, the size of the place and how many wounded there are in here, there are others who will take many days, if not longer, to recover. So you think you'll have time that many of these men aren't going anywhere, and then presumably neither are your captains for today, at least.
Yeah, Ira would nod then. Say you'll still be able to do all your work as normal, and she'll kind of begin rummaging around. And imagine she'll even sneak a couple of things from Hangatyr and this state, some different herbs and stuff that he would normally use, not having them on her own and not having the time to like go search for them, will like steal away some of them. He's unconscious and unable to stop her, but will then kind of begin making this herbal mixture of all these different supplies. As she makes it, she'll begin to like wash Hangatyr's body, especially where the wound is, using this herbal mixture. And then she'll kind of nod to Thredder to begin doing his normal work. And then after she's like covered Hangatyr in this mixture, we'll begin like singing a song out loud to Odin. Probably like much louder. It'll probably catch Thredder like off guard as she like suddenly belts into this near shriek of a song, which she'll like continue for like the entire length of Thredder's work, and then she'll have something that she'll do at the end of it as well.
After a while, he's sure that Hangatyr won't strike or bite him, and so is better for it within his work. And soon, like the jagged rag of skin is like ordered across the bone, stitched in place. So there's like a great grisly like scar growing, clefting like that corner side of the beard. And then he tips boiling ale about it, and then sops it with a rag with a combination of dry herbs his grandmother taught him, and wipes sweat with bloody hands from his brow, smearing himself. And he sits back and nods to you, Ira, and then looks down at you, Hangatyr, and sees your eyes aligning and sense present. And he kind of turns his head and leans in a little. Chewer, can you hear me?
Yeah, I think his eyes focus a little bit, and he feels some pain in his face. And his first instinct is to put his hand on it. So he'll reach up.
Ut, he says.
What happened?
You killed near everyone in Sudbrand. And left your chin in the waters. We've fixed you up, but there's more to come. He looks to you, Ira, drawing your attention to the shield maiden present as well. Beyond, there's just a haze of wounded men wriggling and writhing slowly about, and an ever-present
More.
This will be uncomfortable. I apologize, but I'll need to. And she won't finish the thought. And she'll lean down, next to where this wound is on your face. And she'll give a look over to Threader as she kind of takes. She actually would look strange. She would have her spear there in her hand, and she would give a look over to Threader, I know what I'm doing. I'm not gonna mess everything that you just did up. And kind of around this point where this wound has been stitched on your face, she'll take the head of the spear and cut it enough to draw blood. And then she'll kind of put one hand over your forehead in the sense of I'm sorry for what's about to happen. This is going to hurt. And she'll just kind of whisper, try to stay as calm and still as you can. And then with her other hand, she'll put her hand on this freshly stitched wound and push down hard on your face, right where this wound is. And as she does so, the blood that'll begin to seep out from the stitches will be thick and dark, nearly black. This sickly mixture of Icarus blood. As she'll wipe it away from your face, and will continue to do that for the next couple hours, every hour, making another mark across this wound and squeezing this sickly black mixture out of it. Before eventually burying it in the ground next to you. So mechanically, this is one of Odin's songs, Sing Who Would Heal the Sick. So after doing so, basically, mechanically, it cures any disease and removes any infection. So if the wound would be infected, it cannot do so. It also says at GM's discretion that it can heal the effect of a brutal wound. So I don't know. I'll leave it up to you as far as how healed it would be by the spell. If it's a partial thing that'll still need recovering, or fully, because it's totally up to you how effective it would be in actually making his jaw. Obviously, it'll be scarred and messed up forever, but functional at least in some sense. But that'll be
I think from the sacred songs that the chewing won't be affected. That component of the crit won't happen. It just simply be a cosmetic disfigurement.
I reckon Hangatyr tries his best not to make too much noise, but the pain is definitely agonizing. So I think there's a lot of times where he squeezes the table that he's on or whatever, and maybe leaves an imprint or something, or just trying to keep it together, with this agonizing pain of someone pushing on your recently broken, cracked jaw, trying to fix it. And so I think by the end of it, he'd be in ruins and sweating and tears in his eyes, but he would try his best not to make too much noise.
One of Gunmagin's men is there with two of the crewmen, and Orn Dorback is summoned by the sounds of a particular pain and curious with the ways of the Saith. Watches on as others kind of grow, watching this ritual, I guess, in this brutal house. And one of the men clutches at his groin, the other clutches at his amulet of Thor. And maybe you'd hear some speaking queries to each other, she's a skag. That's unholy holy stuff. Turn away from there, Yundi. And he'll like move with one of his other men away, but others will still come to Gork. But Orn will like chide them and say, our grand matrons knew this, the secret science. Let them be and save our battle, brother. He shrugs. But other men remain silent, and their thoughts behind their eyes as they watch you, Ira.
Yeah, by the end of it, like between each of these like presses, she'll like continue to like sing this song, and by the end of the full couple hours, her voice will be like completely hoarse. She like won't be able to even like speak properly, I imagine, after like exerting so much vocal energy for so long. And she too will be like tired and sweating from like the constant attention and movement and focus and everything. And she'll like attempt as she sees this crowd gather to like tune them out until the end of it. But then kind of every once in a while trying to glance over like, no, this is okay. She wants to be able to say like, hey, this is Odin's song, not like dark skag magic. But because of the song, she's unable to like stop herself and let any words of reassurance come. And she'll just have to hope that the views of everybody else will be acceptable. Until finally the work is done and she'll like see that so many people have gathered around, but be too tired at that stage to like acknowledge or her voice too hoarse to speak any reassurances to them.
I love that. Like, can't speak to explain the song. Like, it's cool. In the hall of Oleg called Dropnir, and then briefly held by Thane, Björg in her 3.5 minutes of rulership. Eric and yourself stand before a small huddle of terrified, wounded folk, and armed warriors in here stand ready to carry out grim orders. Behind at tables where food and drink is, where men come and go, Gunmagan and some of his folk lounge. Nearby, Thrafengir and some others who are out lying, like outlying, taking thralls and prisoners beyond Sudbrand, have like come in for relief and food. And so in hearing of the shouting that Eric does as he interrogates yet another one of these horrified folk, where's Oleg's gold? He says, his voice shaking with exhaustion and intensity. My lord, please, Lord, no, I heard her speak of it with her brother and the family as I served them, but it is not here. I swear it, Lord. They rued that very fact. She did not lie to you as you say. She's not like that. But the gold is not here for her to give. He looks to the door and then back, and his head goes down. Eric leans forward towards the man from next to you, Gunnaldr. Speak, worm. The Mears of Domvola. They're old weirs there, and tombs. Oleg's grandbrother, he lay there, and others, but that place fell to a troll. And Oleg's grandfathers and uncles, they paid silver to the troll, but Oleg would not, and so grew rich, and was called Dropnir. But the troll grew angry, and came at the night. Thrice he came, and took maidens and silver, and there hoarded it. Oleg's coin. Eric shakes his head and sits back and says something akin to peasant superstition or just more wretched lies, shaking now with the dragon sickness that Björg seeded.
Now, Carl Eric, maybe this man can show us.
If I could, to spare myself your wrath, lords, I would, but I know it not. It is a guile step known only to the kin of Oleg's blood. And he looks to the doorway again and then back to you, quicker this time. Only they know the tread.
And who of Oleg's kin still live?
None, lord, none.
He looks over to Carl Eric, looks down at the sword that he claimed from the family. Oh, well, that he now possesses, which was once from the family. This may be out of our reach, Carl.
His nostrils flare and his chest rises and falls rapidly. And he looks about the room, almost like demanding explanation with his glare from the men who are helpless to do more. He seems too reluctant to try and forget the talk.
Good Magan, do you think you could lead an expedition to the tombs near Dommervoller? See if you can find this Oleg's coin.
If it is your command, my captain. And he'll straighten in his seat, and knowing that he's in hearing of so many warriors who he's recently strutted about like a cockerel in front of, finds himself in a position where he can't rightly refuse for fear of cowardice and can't wriggle free from it, and so says, I would be honored if you command.
And he addresses the wider room, particularly his crew members of the Nameless. Under my command, you will all get what you earn. Good Magan, you take your men. If you can find this Oleg's coin, you will earn an extra share. How does that sound to you?
A fine thing, Lord, and for an extra share for my men who go with me.
Of course, any who live.
Yeah, he stammers for a moment at that, bringing to his mind images of trolls feasting upon him or using his bones to stir their fell potions. And the glory, the slaying of the thing, if it is not a lie, he says, is showing that he agrees with Eric that the man speaks bullshit.
No man could take that from you. You will have earned that, indeed. If
Very
such
well.
a creature exists there.
I will leave at dawn, Lord.
Very good. Take your men with you.
He nods, grabs some of the food up with his man in like a sack, and they'll move with a couple of the recent thralls to wherever their other two soldiers are encamped. And you imagine him in his little tight coterie will do as they say. This is early evening, late afternoon.
And I think, if they sort of shuffle out pretty promptly, I think you would turn back to Eric, who's still trying to interrogate these Sudbranders. There, you see. If it can be found, we will find it. And in the meantime, my friend, we have such spoils. Remember these three Nar ships, the boats in the bay? These are now ours. We have thralls. Can send some of them back to Gunland.
Let us see it done, he says, approaching something like resignation. It goes from a boil to a simmer, but his interest in it doesn't go cold. There is that many a task to deal with, but one way or another that gold will be ours, he says, to the hearth glow.
Would you follow behind Gun Magan and his company, Carl Eric? I see your eyes. Would you want to help find this Oleg's coin yourself?
He looks to the young lordling, his rival essentially, in less than a decade probably. That man will become his neighboring rival, even though he's an ally, and thinks his own share doubled and his men doubled would be quite a thing, because it'd be like your share, which is like a 5 share, and your captain's, like Hangatyr and Ira, is a 2 share. So for him, that would be 4 and 10 respectively, which of gold would mean, excellent. Excellent amount. And the dragon's sickness roars like deep in the mountain of his interest, and he watches the lad disappear with his men and says, perhaps even aid him and better the chance of our success. Though many of these wretches speak of fell tales of those old forsaken weirs of Frederland, and all manner of speech of Draugirs and of beasts there, forgotten and unknown in the writings of southerners, and would leave us shorter than the battles of Sudbrand Beach have. My own men, 6 are dead, and more than twice that lay wounded. Soon our crews will be compromised. You are right, we should send thralls in return for men from our lands. Your mistress Gunnaldr, she will be thankful. You must implore her for men to sit at the bench and to fight in the shield wall. Your own losses, he says, genuinely concerned, but more out of pragmatism than human empathy.
Too keen. 12 dead between here and first timer. I will send thralls in return for more men. The crew bleeds over in these lands. Is the price of our victories. We must replenish. But Karl Erik, I think perhaps we have a choice. As you say, your own men, your own forces are diminished somewhat. The price of our victory here. Would you chase Oleg's coin in the Weirs? Or would we stand together and join Karl Asmund and Jarl Yngvi to march on Dommervoller?
He shakes his head, like withholding his opinion until mention of that last item, and he shakes his head. We are too few now to risk an open battle. It might render our ships immobile, and we there lay ourselves open for strife. This battle was a good victory, but our parity, he wonders and leaves the sentence unfinished. We should send a ship back to bring men to reinforce us, and leave another here, in case. And he just nods, in case.
Agreed.
But we should be strong here in case, unsuspectingly, Scarrison sends men south down through the Weirs or by sea to try and repel us from this place. I should stay and see what Gunmagan could do of it, he says, extricating himself from the prospect of going into the Weirs. For now.
As you say. Very well.
You have God sworn. Seek their counsel and tell me if anything should come of it. I grow tired of hearing the bleating of these sheep. Take them, and he says to his warriors, and they'll move in like a iron snake coiling about the thralls and dragging them away to wherever they go, to leave you with Hrafngeir at the table.
Yeah, he would sit down beside Hrafngeir. So do you think Gunmagan will return?
Though I wish he wouldn't. He must if we are to reap the spoils.
Yes, exactly. I think if he does not return, it is likely they got lost because the spoils do not exist, or they were defeated. In which case, when we have more strength, we can go back. I do not think it likely that they will find Oleg's coin, overcome whatever guards it, and flee somewhere in these lands.
Do you think he would flee with it? Should he find it?
I'm sure it would cross his mind. Would it not yours? Such a fortune.
I'm sure that's probably why they were eager to leave.
Gold does do strange things to men. I've seen it.
I'm starting to see it more.
I think we may rest here a little while. Recover our strength. Send back some thralls to Gunnaldr in exchange for some more men to bolster our forces.
Have you spoken with Ira or Hangatyr since the end of the conflict?
Not yet. I meant to go and see them next. See if Hangatyr yet stands.
The Valkyries have decided against taking him. With a fury like that, I don't blame them.
Oh, should have seen this, Rafgir. That blow would have knocked down Thor himself, I swear.
I would like to accompany you when you go.
You guys could make swift passage down from the hall past the ditch and through the town, which is now, like much of the horror, covered by returning darkness of night. And once you get into the barn, you can see the soft light therein, revealing the many wounded and sickened. Half of them sleep now, others, though, cannot from the pain. Those that can stand and walk have formed like an irregular circle of silent Gorkas where you can see, around where you can see Ira moving in a strange, disquieting manner about Hangatyr, placing signs upon him and singing words known only to those sworn to the gods.
And so I imagine that as we're sort of joining this gathering crowd that's there, right, and looking on in it with interest, and you'd hear some of the mutterings about this being some kind of skag magic, and then the rebuttals that no, it's the ancient songs of the All-Father. And he'd just be watching, actually seeing Ira in for the first time in this particular way, in this particular light. He's seen her, sort of perform ceremonies and her songs before, but this is something reverential to him, I think. Seeing the daughter of Odin sing over and heal the chosen warrior of Odin, it's just something overwhelmingly holy and beautiful, I guess, in a way, to his eyes. And he just stands in silent awe.
You'll feel a presence next to you who has a different smell to the others of the crew. And like almost hear the creak of the aged bones of Gunnaldr. An onlooker by definition, though impossible to perform by technicality, but his voice so softened despite the crinkles of age and the knowledge of that painful journey. He's sweetened by the words and almost in awe, giving off a look of awe at the words, nodding to himself or something else, and turns, looks right at you through like the milk of his eyes, You're sure of it. Soon I'll go to the corpse hall. Nidhogger will have his stew with me, and you'll have to look to her.
He makes that eye contact, which is never quite yet gotten used to. That feeling of being seen by this old holy man, despite the fact that he knows he cannot see in the normal sense. You'll be spared from the corpse ripper, surely, Gunblindi. You'll be feasting with the old father himself, and fighting every day, drinking every night.
Young words to old ears. And he turns from you to the song.
Do you think she is ready to guide me, to guide this crew?
He nods strangely. You're not sure if it's in time with the song or a yes or both.
She is from a different land. I must ask her about it.
The same nodding, at which point the nodding and the song both stop, and half the ring of men move away now by like the cognizance of the shield maiden, of the singer, and uncomfortable now that she's not distracted from them. And under her awareness, half of them melt away. But for Orn, Thrafengir next to you, Gunblindi, they'll move to Hangatyr and Ira both, and supporting.
Yeah, I imagine as
Will
the
he
song
live?
stops, she'll give like one more press of the wound to like collect any of the last bits of this like whatever strangeness has come from it, like wiping it away into the same place she has been. And she'll just kind of like look over, worn out, like her eyes hollow, not from any like mystical trance, but just from exhaustion. And she'll just kind of give a weak, tired nod. Before I imagine she'll just like fall down to the ground, just out of tiredness.
Usually I kill witches.
Yeah, I think Gunnaldr would step forward and try and sort of catch her or ease her fall, and just help her sort of sit propped up against the table or something like that. That singing, it was beautiful, like the voices of the Valkyries themselves. Will he live?
It is the words more than any song that is the beauty. They come from the All-Father himself. They're his songs, they're his words. Hangatyr should live. She'll say with like much less confidence than she like means to. She like knows she should speak with like authority and like with assuredness here, but she like can't bring herself to do so. If the Father's song has any power, and I'm sure you'll see that it does, he will stand soon. The scar will be there, probably forever. But the rest of him will be there too.
I cannot thank you enough for saving him. I know he means much to this crew and to you, Ira. But he means a great deal to me. He saved me, you see, when I was a boy. Delivered me to Carl Gunilla and the household. And as he says that, he's sitting down beside her, and he kind of looks up at Hangatyr's sort of unconscious or perhaps just groaning, barely conscious form as the pain is starting to set into him.
I have done nothing. The All-Father is the chooser of the slain. He decides who accompanies him in the corpse hall and who has much to do here still in Midgard. The All-Father makes his choice, whether we decide or not. There's no cause for him. Hangatyr lives by those words and by those choices.
He nods in understanding. Thank Odin that you were here, and thank Odin that he yet lives. I think we'll rest here a little while. How long will he need?
As long as we can spare. She'll say, like, wanting the rest for herself just as much as for Hangatyr and for the others at this stage, knowing that time is of the essence, but that we should at least try to give some space.
The maiden. I know it was the right decision. I know it was not easy. But she had a weapon in hand. Hopefully she found her way to the corpse hall. But she spoke of the gold and silver of her family, of her father Oleg. And one of her men spoke of the Weirs to the north, where it should be buried, said to be guarded by trolls and dragons.
Hangatyr will like wake up at the mention of a troll, just like, and he'll like reach and grab for whoever is closest, even maybe it's you, and like by the throat, like lift you into the air, and he's like got the mental eyes, and then like will like drop and like find some calm.
Yeah, Gunnaldr's eyes are just wide, and he's just all happening too quickly for him to even react. And after the few moments when he realizes it's Hangatyr that's holding him, he just doesn't want to fight back, just lets him do what he needs to do. And then when he slowly sees that realization come into Hangatyr's face.
Jotun! Where? And he like will try to stand up, and maybe he's a bit wobbly, but I think like with the magic he's probably all right. And like probably knocks a bunch of shit over on like, the table that he was on, like probably skitters to the ground, and he tries to stand up tall at the mention of like his most hated of enemies.
Imagine Ira will try to do that thing of like putting the hands on like the patient, be like, no, you need to stay, you need to rest, but like in as much as she is tired from the battle before and from doing all that for the 8 hours, I imagine Hangatyr even in this state will be able to bowl her over without trouble. And we'll look confusedly at the Gunnaldr at the mention of a troll too, not expecting that to be where the conversation led.
Where?
By this point, Gunnaldr's down on the ground, like on his back, like he's been tossed down effortlessly by Hangatyr. Far from here, Hangatyr. Far from here. To the north, Gunnmagan has gone to face it and bring back the treasure hoard.
He will die.
He may. And if he does?
He like looks at Ira like this kid doesn't understand, and then looks back to you. This is not some thing to involve in your squabbles. This is an enemy of Odin on our world. Should not be here. Cannot be here. We must destroy it.
He's gets goose pimples on his skin, and his eyes and mouth just gape. And he nods, thinking he understands. You are sworn to defeat him.
The trolls are Jotun, stunted, but still Jotun, and they have to die.
Then we will go. But you need your strength, Hangatyr.
If we have any chance of defeating such a creature, we should go at full strength. As Hangatyr says, this is nothing to trifle with, to take lightly.
Arrest them.
Odin does not make enemies easily, and those that he does, men have small hope of defeating without care.
Then rest, but we should go. There are preparations to make if we're going to fight this thing.
Then let us prepare immediately. We shall rest and prepare, and go as soon as we have our full strength. How do we fight such a creature?
You shouldn't. They're not mortal like we are. If it's a troll, then it's... Well, I'll need to speak with some people. I need to speak with Gunnaldr and others. You should rest, Ira. I'm grateful for this sorcery.
She'll nod, like clearly grateful for the like. Now it's your turn to maybe take a rest for a second. But she'll just say, Odin watches you the same as me. We're both fortunate for that.
I will have to speak with Odin and see what's to be done and how we kill this thing. But for now, the rest of you should rest and enjoy. It might be the last thing we fight.
Realizing he's still on his back, or like up on his butt and hands on the ground, Gunnaldr climbs to his feet and dusts himself off and looks around to see who in the crew it was around to sort of see him in such a state, but not minding too much either way. He'll give a nod to Ira, in agreement for her to go and rest, and turn to Gunnaldr. What do the legends say of how to kill a troll, Gunnaldr?
You need Odin's magic and Odin's song, he says, turning his face in an approximation of where Ira lays exhausted.
Do they hate the cold iron? The same.
And they hate the fearful heart. Sorry, the fearless heart.
There's much to think on and much to do.
A troll will make mince and folly of many men if they are not great. Lesser men are chaff beneath the scythe to the troll. But there are myriad trolls that dwell in Middlegard where they should not. Waterfalls, cavern dwellers, hill toppers, the barky trolls of the woods and other dark places where Odin's name is not praised. But ere the weirs of Freydeland, a murky, swamped place, a cold place, a cold troll.
Well, we have the fearless heart. You are Odin's weapon against the troll. Hangatyr.
I am our weapon. So is Ira. So are you. All of us. Fire, maybe. We shall see. I will speak to Odin.
They hate fire and Baldur's gift, but in the weirs, fire is hard to summon, even to those with the knowing, Rusgumblindi in a gravelled tone.
Will you come with us, old man?
He shakes his head. I could not see the path, and it will be dangerous. Karl Eric dismisses the superstition of folk he deems lesser than himself, and that it is his folly. Don't let it be yours, and he prods you with a dagger of a bony finger.
It will not be my folly. I see the deep value in your wisdom. I thank you, as always, for it. I will not make you come. But you will help us prepare.
He'll look to Hangatyr and then Ira, and then back to you and nod. Then we'll take a break there,
Sounds
I
good.
guess. Time
Perfect.
will pass and we'll come back. It's late in the afternoon of the third dawn after the scourging of Sudbrand, and many of the men of the Nameless who can grumble do and wonder at the fate of their lord-to-be and his bondsmen, the stories of what they'll bring back and what tales they'll tell. Turn to tales of wonder at when, turn to tales at wonder of what's happened to them. And Eric rues as much as he thinks long on the gold and thumbs the ball of the blade of Orn. He says as much to you at the table as you share in a dinner, the captain and their chiefs.
What is on your mind, Carl Eric?
Soon it will be 4 days since the men left, and still no word of the gold, he says, unconcerned for their fate.
Well, it'll take some time to get there. Take some time to get back. I'm sure they will be fine.
Time brings winter closer, and we still have much to do. And still no words of the ships from Gunnaldr, he says, almost in a hiss.
That is more of a concern. But weather depending, arriving today could still be early. We'll see if they get back tomorrow. But we do need the men. The daily training and the drills, especially in the shield, are helping our less developed warriors. But we need to fill out our ranks. I need to fill out mine, Odin knows.
If God's forbidding they do not return or they fail, one of us should go, he says, losing his appetite completely and leaning back into his chair and gripping the blade.
To the Weirs?
To the gold.
You know, Carl Eric, he says, putting his drinking horn down and leaning in. My God sworn on my crew. They say that the rumors of a troll up there, they are likely to be true.
He looks a bit fearful at that for a moment, and kind of, even though he leans forward in interest at the talk, his face is shaken.
And the wise one, Gunnaldr, as he gestures over, you know him well. He knows something of the trolls, their strengths, what they're capable of. And I think Gunnaldr would just start describing similarly to how Gunnaldr did, but maybe playing it up even a little bit more poetically and descriptively on how they would just strip the flesh from rank after rank of mailed warrior, and it takes special precautions and certain types of weapons and tactics known only to those close to Odin.
No, you should have them do it. If they know it, have your God sworn, go to this place.
We'll still share the spoils.
Of course, yes.
You were happy to stay here because we need to keep our hold on Sudbrand. This is part of Gunnaldr now. Let us hope that the ships come within the next day with more men. because then you will have extra spears to replace those who come along with me. There, him saying for the first time that he intends to go along with his godsworn to fight a troll.
You risk much, Heldig. They call you lucky for good reason so far. Yeah, perhaps you will bring back the gold. And yes, we will share. And if a way might be found through the Weirs to Domavola, we could strike there, spears replenished.
That was my second thinking. I will bring Hrafgir with me, and maybe one or two other of my finest woodsmen on the crew. See if they can't help scout ahead. Find
Chart
a
the
good
dark
way.
path. It is a wise plan, Heldig. You have good counsel. I will do what I can.
Counsel through the All-Father himself. And he picks up his drinking horn again and drinks.
Meanwhile, in a cattle byre, the animals have been pilfered and feasted upon, now serves as a place where Gunblindi, Ira, and Hangatyr gather some days after the spell song which saved your face, Hangatyr. And Gunblindi muttering on in worry as he does at the prospect of a weir troll, and ruing that he does not have 3 decades back that he might go to spy the way. He'll think it treacherous. The troll makes its lair safe for itself and harmful for its foemen, and can lure by guile. And that those trolls that live in water have fell instruments crafted by the Alpha that they play old songs upon to lure and skewer travellers. But to be deaf in such a place is danger to the other follies which lurk. And that the troll claw is sharp as any blade forged by the deep folk, and so one need armor to protect himself from it, from its battle kisses. But to wear armor in the Weir is to die if you fall from the dams, which, if the place has been abandoned, are not sure steps. And he says this ruefully and warningly, again as he stretches out his hands to warm by the fire you've made here.
But how do we kill it?
Its tongue and its throat, they must be slit and they must be burned.
Hangatyr's like thinking about if he can pry this thing's jaw open. So I reckon cut the tongue out while it's trying to kill them. He's like thinking about the logistics, not fearfully, just like trying to figure out like what it would look like and how he'd have to do it. And he sort of nods to himself.
It may be a man with hair from navel to toe who plays the bone flute. It may be a hag, warted and barked with age. It may be a maid or a youth, or any vision it wishes, if that is its ken.
Once we get to the Weir, everything is an enemy.
He nods in agreeance.
I don't have any magic with which to prepare. I'll deafen myself so I can't fall prey to its tricks. I think it would be wise for all of us.
Yet to be without hearing is a danger all to itself. Surely not only its songs are the things there to fear.
He shrugs, like the only thing that he needs to worry about is the troll.
Yeah, Iroh will just kind of sit uncomfortably, like wanting to like find some advice to offer her, some like plan. But like everything that she thinks of is like just easily countered back by the same uh sort of logic. She's kind of left wondering, like knowing that they need to do this, at least through Hangatyr's assurance, borrowing from it to know that this needs to happen, but wondering at the same time if it's worth it.
He shakes his head. Not worth it to any who seek gold or riches, he says.
I'll go alone.
But it is a foeman of Odin.
If you don't want to die, if you fear it, then I'll go alone. But knowing that it exists means that I can't do anything but go to slay it. My oath to Odin.
He nods, understanding.
If it's true that Odin hates these things so much, then it's my duty, just as the same as yours, to see that it's no longer here in this world. Perhaps the songs that you do not know to sing are ones that I might know, might help us.
The troll will know songs too. And he'll take his hands from the fire's warmth, hide them within his furs, and reach out with his left hand clutching something that clatters and rattles, and thrust it towards you, Ira, and drop into your hands a ring of iron, and girt about it are bones, each of them drilled with a hole, so they form like a bracelet of keys. And upon the bones that are mostly toes and fingers of humans, other bones you are not sure of, carved and gouged and stained with the black of time, to keep secret songs used by Modolf and whoever gave it to him. No doubt you recognize it from his battle raiment. This from the foe field you may need. He'll drop it down, relinquishing it into your care.
Yeah, she'll take it very carefully and delicately from his hand, kind of twisting it over in her own, to like look at the markings and the bones, and kind of like shudder at the sight of it and the feel of it in her hand. And then she'll like look back up to this man who can't see back at her stare, but somehow she feels that that he sees it anyways, though maybe that's just her own willful thinking. And she'll just nod. Thank you. I'll see if I can, and just kind of like let the sentence hang in the air. Not entirely sure what to do with this or how to use it, but she'll try to take the time to figure it out.
Can I try and make a a check, like a Saithwise or something, to see if I can recall anything else about trolls or how you might fight a Jotun?
Sure.
Anything like that? I think I'd have a dice ready. 17, all up. Really like the concern for Hangatyr is how to hurt it, as opposed to how not to beat her from it.
Yeah, from what you know of or have heard of Weir trolls, they know sorcery, the word you'd spoke earlier. They control the climate and conditions to an extent where they make their lair. They know some songs of Odin as well as songs of older things, change their form. They are, even though they may appear slight, they are robust and hard to hack down. And their skin is a steel all of its own kind. No doubt, where trolls can breathe the murky waters they dwell in. and resist the worst privations of the conditions that they layer in.
Yeah, he'll say as much then, like recounting everything that he knows about trolls, and ogres and all the other sort of lesser Jotun.
And it's not only this thing that we'll need to fear, its strength or its spells, but every step we take upon its lands, the weather, treatment of the ground, how safe it is to step. Everything will be stacked against us.
It's the only option that we have. It has to die. And he says that with that sort of like cavalier attitude that he feels because he doesn't understand what fear is. And so he's like explaining, like, this is the situation, this is what I know. And he's like listening to Gunnaldr for ways to hurt it. He's not afraid of dying, and so he just wants to be able to kill it. And so like this discussion about like, well, what if we die? He's like, well, that's the idea. It's like the hope. It's the best thing we can hope for.
Yeah, I will just give a grim nod at that statement, and just kind of like understanding the gravity of it, at least to Hangatyr, which will translate to her, for better or for worse, will like take on the same level of determination that this thing needs to die as he has, but much less confident that they'll be able to do anything about it. Still, even if it must die, we should plan carefully. We want the best chance of actually felling the thing.
You will need strength and succor, good supplies, and rest still your wounds are raw.
Every day that we don't go is a day that Gunmagan gets closer. What if he does it?
Gunmagan is for the gold, and so is lost, as you spoke when you woke from the death dream.
If this thing is even half as deadly as the stories you and the both of you have told, and its command of the region around it, even a mere fraction of what you've said, Gunmagan has no chance. We will find him dead or nearly dead, if he finds it at all, or if we find him.
Then rest. Rest quickly.
So a half week passes and preparations are made, and Hrafngeir, you're told of your duty to come, and I imagine share some of the same fear as those few others, except for Hangatyr, of course. Knowing the stories of trolls, and I'm assuming safely to say never seen one before. So imagination running wild. You'd come the fourth day after those events to form up with the others inside of Sudbrand, armed for war and for the dangerous path into the Weirs of Hradeland ahead. Who is present other than you five?
I would have asked, or commanded Hrafngeir to pick one other sort of hunter to come with him. And I think other than that, trying to keep it to a minimum, since the understanding is that pretty much anyone other than Hangatyr and Ira will just be mincemeat. So
it's tricky, because I think like having more dudes is probably helpful, but also I think that like the more dudes you bring, the more dudes we can lose.
Yeah, they'll definitely help, but they'll definitely die, whereas you have a chance to survive.
Yeah. And we really can't afford to be losing people. Is it fair game, Nico, that I could pick up a helmet somewhere in the loot?
Yeah, from the battlefield, either like from that Bright Lord you and Iris Slade in like the probing feint.
Yeah.
There's a large gent with a helm, so he'd fit.
Yeah, I'll take that then. And a nice shield. Be heavily armored from here on out.
yeah, so yeah, maybe we would have just brought a small handful of other men then, maybe just some of the Asplothers that we had captured.
Some of the Asblothers, like thralls, or like the people who have yielded.
Yeah, some of the people who have yielded, maybe, so that then it's not necessarily our own bodies, but I guess we wouldn't want them with spears at our backs, would we? Yeah, and they can sort of lead the way and be our meat shields.
Oh, you guys really are gunlanders. So 3 folk drawn up in the front of you 5. Is that right?
Yeah, that sounds good.
Was Raffengear bringing one person of his choosing for the charting of this place?
I believe in the last session there was 2 scouts that went with me to check the perimeter of Sudbrand.
Yeah. What were their? I don't have their names written down.
I don't know if we actually gave them names, but one of them,
Bjorn, will come, having gone with you last time and avoiding the worst of the slaughter at Sudbrand. Is eager for some glory and not quelled by the fear as others might be in your asking, so he'll join you guys as well. So that makes 9, a good number to go and kill a troll.
Yeah, it's a lucky number, a sacred number. That's good.
And off you march north into the weirs of Fredeland. Sudbrand disappears behind you. You come to a rugged, near winter-kissed plain, which leads into dipping swells of man-made dams, where the eddies and streams and tributaries from western hills form up into a sliver of a river which cuts the ground here between you, your approach at Sudbrand, and Domovola far to the north. Though the path is treacherous, with Raffengear and Bjorn at the head, at a slow pace, you avoid the follies of that path. And still, after 2 days of travelling and camping in this cold, forsaken, sodden, dreary place, there's no sign of the 3 men who went, and Gunmagan, who trod this path. Though here and there, Raffengear, you might find trace of their tread, boot prints that could belong to them, crossing occasionally the path that you've picked, which would not be the same as them because your path would have been superior, but you still would note passage of them sometimes. And morning of the 3rd day, a grey haze sets in, which occasionally is punctuated by small trees and shriveled shrubs that grow up out of the rise of ditches where dams are set across to segment the flow of water about here. Once it must have been a rich agricultural place and a constant thing of motion of human artifice, but now in its forsaken state looks like an unploughed, muddy field of squares that is lined across by these spiked dams which give unsteady passageway between the wet, treacherous places filled with sucking mud and settling sleet. It's when you considering rest and where to camp at the end of this third day in the Weirs, when you hear a figure moving beyond, it sets you and Bjorn to hunker down instinctively and look about to watch, and watch you do, and rewarded after a moment, see a figure clad in mail and what looks like blood, though could be mud from this distance, running clumsily, as if almost in a stupor or in drunkenness, looking here and there before moving on, generally in the direction from which you guys had come, though not directly on the path that you'd picked to move forward on through the muddy, rugged terrain. After a time, he grows even closer and you recognize him, though he looks different from before. It's Sigvalder, Finehair, the most handsome of Gunmagin's men, and called so for good reason. His hair is fine, and so is he. A fine face, unmarred by battle, though he's been in them. A long eagle beak of a nose that's not too big, that it's not a compliment to his face, which is fair, but not now. It's marred. The lips, in a polite circle around his teeth, have been torn away, and a bloody smile is pierced by rows of fine white teeth. And at his nether, where the scale of his armor parts, there's a red, dark ruin spattered with mud, which is heaped upon his boots as he makes his path.
Seeing where he's running from, do I see anything following him, like in the immediate vicinity, or is he just stumbling his way into the wilds?
No, it seems purposeful. He's not running with abandon. He's not like putting himself in immediate, like foolish danger, like some concern for where he treads, almost like one bearing urgent news or good news.
I almost imagine
no other movement, though you can't see probably more than a bow shot beyond the haze of like the winter years.
I almost imagine that we have like a bird call or something to alert our like larger forces when we're scouting, and I'll make this call to try and get his attention, at least to come in our direction.
So I guess the three thralls in front of you guys at the rear would like suddenly stop hearing the call and looking for orders from Gunnaldr.
Hold here. So can Gunnaldr and everyone see Sigvalder as well?
Yeah, I guess so. From his movement and from the direction of the bird call, you'd see his movement, because I imagine Bjorn and Hrafnir would be hidden at the rise and fall of the weirs or by the trees and such, so maybe you wouldn't see them, but see this figure moving about in the distance, though not in the same detail as I described to Hrafnir.
Yeah, so he would just put hold his hand up to halt when he hears the bird whistle, and waits to listen and see, and hears the figure and sees the figure moving through. And with Hrafnir and Bjorn scouting ahead, he turns behind to Hangatyr and Ira beside him. Must be a friend. Must be one of Gunmagin's men. Or the call would have been different,
Everyone we meet in the Weir is an enemy.
He just nod and draw his sword, and rather than calling out to the figure, move to intercept them on the path that they're on. Maybe even so that he can step out in front of them, and maybe on his way give probably a poor resemblance of a return bird whistle to notify Hrafnir to sort of come up and follow behind the guy.
At this, Sigvalder Finehair will see you, and then like make that like crossing X gesture over his head with his hands. Lords! Lords! And then increase his pace and rush towards you guys revealed.
He squints. Sigvalda.
You get close enough that you see his lips and ruined leathers, and to see too that his eyes loll about in his head in strange patterns that he should not be given sight through, but seems to as he eyes you crazily and says, treasure we found, lords. Moonstone and gold there is.
And what has happened to you? What foes were guarding this treasure?
A nymph there is, a maiden, sent by Odin, he says, sent by Odin, and gives like this pleasureful face.
He's been deceived.
No, she's given me the truth, he says to you insanely.
He's under a spell. He should die.
Can the spell not be broken?
He's weak to have fallen for it. Lost. Look at him.
And he takes it. He obviously sees is taking a kind of pity on this man out of his wits. Would it be the same? Do you not think that I could be ensnared by such witchcraft?
And I would kill you too.
Very well. I don't think he'll be very happy if the curse could be lifted and he sees what he's become.
Yeah, I will just kind of give this shake of her head as if to say, like, even if we wanted to, like, this isn't something that at least I can do at the moment. And that he's probably better off under Hangatyr's methods than any of our own.
Has he got a sword or a weapon?
He's got an axe belted at his side, but he has not raised it against you, though you can spy nearby of him. But yeah, as you say, he's like in a spell or ensorcelled or befooled.
Hold your axe, boy.
He looks down at it and like holds it as you say, and then looks to you, eyes rolling in different directions, teeth in a bloody, stupid smile, dripping into the mud.
Hangatyr will like look up. It's not his fault. And then he'll run him through.
He looks down and questions blood over your hand and the blade, and when you pull it out, there's an exhale from his guts as he folds back down into the mud. Something like a laugh coming out before he twitches, and then his eyes go wide and the spell is broken in his dying moment, and he shrieks hideously in pain before he's seized in a couple of brutal paroxysms of certain death, and lay still, and his cries echo throughout the weir and disappear.
Now, we use the wax. We will not listen to the song of this thing. This is the end that awaits us if we do. And Hangatyr will begin stuffing, I mean, I guess we talked about this before we left, but like whatever wax or whatever that we would have managed to gather into his ear so that he can't hear anything as much as possible. And even like bind like a rag around his head or something like that to keep it in. And he's just gonna now, his job is to follow Raffingeir wherever he goes and keep him in his eye line, because he's gonna find the thing, and then Hangatyr's gonna kill the thing, as far as he knows.
Are you all going to wax your ears and order the thralls be waxed?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, Ira will defer to Hangatyr for better or worse on any of the methodology from this point on.
I think it's just like seeing that, like that's what happens if you hear this thing spells. It's like no brainer, I think.
Yeah, it makes complete sense to Gunnaldr, yeah.
I think Hrafnir would kind of bring up the rear behind this guy as he and Bjorn had returned, kind of catching the last part of this conversation. Looking grimly to Hangatyr, he'd hold out his hand for the wax and kind of look at everyone in the immediate party, look to the thralls, and turn silently to walk, keeping low to the ground, trying to track this guy's prints back to where he came from. I think maybe before everyone puts their earwax in, him saying like, let's not follow the tracks like right on top of them. Like I can do that. But you guys should try to at least use the Weirs for what cover we can gain from them when we can. I think the scream may have alerted whatever it is to our presence, but any kind of ambush tactics we can preserve would be ideal. Turning to track this sorry sod from where he came.
So deaf and ambling in your arms through the mud and across the rickety spiked weirs. And unknowing of whatever noise may be beyond the wax and seal that keep you safe so far as you press on where Hrafnir guides following the trail of nether blood. Till the Weirs end and beyond at a rise, a stone ruin. It could be a low sten or a tomb or both. Lays beyond bodies of water where like early ice has begun to form an unsteady skin. There are rocky paths that tread between or across, I should say, the bodies of water towards the tomb. Though they look risky. And at the fore of the shore, as you see on my overlay, is Gunmagan's blade and helm laid down as you see them, as if put down by one going home to his stead.
As soon as Hrafnir sees the helm, he would pick it up and hold it up in the direction of the rest of the party to try and give them visual of it and the scene in front of us.
The thralls look all around nervously, wordlessly, shuddering.
It's obviously his stuff, right, that's been left here.
Yeah, it looks to Hrafnir like in his garb he walked up here, took off his helm and his sword, and walked into the water.
Okay.
Which is freezing.
This is not the work of a troll. Is
You
it?
think silently.
Yo, that's
Well,
scum!
yeah. He probably would say it and realize after a moment that we all can't hear each other.
I'm just going to start screaming and bellowing for this thing to come out and like kicking at the water.
Okay. One of the thralls turns to the other and just like wraps his hands around his throat, even though the face is repelled. The hands are certain and begin to constrict. The other thrall like reels back and sludges down into the knee-high water behind him. Begins like putting his hands up to his face, raking it, and an unsettling feeling begins to ripple through you all. Although you do not see foe, you feel it, and yeah, at that provocation, we'll roll initiative.
All right. So as a reaction to initiative, I'm going to go ahead and kick off one of my songs. So luckily, at least I don't know if this is intentional in the text or if it's a misstep from Lloyd. Hopefully, it's intentional, but it does not say that it needs to be explicitly like heard within a certain range. So I guess I'll let the call go out as to whether or not that would actually function or not. Okay. Alrighty. So yeah, Ira will, I imagine, feel that sort of overwhelming tension rush over everybody, and know that like the time is now so soon. And we'll begin to sing. It'll be like super strange. I imagine with the wax in her ears, she'll like hear the sound from her vocal cords coming through her skull into her ears, but like not projected outwards in the same way that she normally does, in that sort of eerie way that you can hear yourself when you plug your ears, but not like it won't sound the same. And she'll sing the song and feel the feeling wash over and know that hopefully it'll still be effective. And I'll put the benefits to that in the chat. So yeah, some of the people who already put initiative, you might want to roll that advantage and see if it helps.
Rad. So handy. Okay. Though you do not see or hear it, you feel that battle is upon you, Hrafngeir, and looking around, the thrum of deafening silence compressed between your waxen ears, you see your companions suddenly reaching for weapons and looking about themselves while the thralls descend into some insanity. The water with fragments of icy skin on it begins to ripple.
I don't hear this song, but I can gather that someone is singing from the reactions of the thralls clawing at themselves and throwing themselves into the murky water. I'm gonna try and find it, perception, to see if I can isolate the direction. For a total of 18.
You cannot find the source of the madness or the origin of the fear that settled on all of you by Hangatyr, I guess. But for that, you see ripples in the water beyond what would be affected by the kicking of Hangatyr. And so cannot spy your foe, have good insight to from where it might come. Cancelling out for now the danger of something careening down from the rocky tomb beyond.
I have Bjorn next to me, I imagine, or was he back with the party?
I think it was you and Hangatyr who went ahead, then the thralls, then the rest. So you can say where Bjorn is, but I think it was just specifically you and Hangatyr up front.
That's fine. That's fine. Seeing the distraction and ruckus that Hangatyr is causing, I'm gonna try and slip over one of these kind of embankments, keeping eyes on the direction of where I've seen the ripples, but trying to get any kind of cover from staying low, if at all possible. I'm just going to use probably like 15 feet of movement 25 to kind of move just farther one way or the other away from Hangatyr, keeping a direct line of sight between.
Oh, you went muted there.
Just keeping eyes on the landscape between Hangatyr and where I saw this curious ripple.
Hangatyr, you see Hrafngeir reel back from this place, from the ill feeling, but looking about, the foe is obviously too cowardly to present itself, despite your protests or summons.
Yeah, so I'll just continue chanting all these like insulting names for Jotun and their ilk that I would have learnt off as rote when I became what I am. And in doing that, I'll drink the piss potion, and I'll begin to like quickly like slap and hit myself and jump up and down. I'm just going to use my action to go berserk, and just like keep kicking at the water and spitting into it and like trying to get this thing to face me.
A hand made of black weir water rises up, shattering through the icen film, and reaches towards you, arcing up, surreal and menacing. And the thrall that's nearby to the water, clawing at its face, drops down into a rictus of a broken mind. And the hand grasps for you. You'll need to make a save. I believe it's strength, which is great for you. It is a DC 14 strength save.
Okay, 19 on the die, so like 28 or something ridiculous.
The fist smashes down, and tendrils of tubular weir water like writhe around you like snakes and constrict at once to burst into mist and then recoil back like a snake slithering back to its lair into the water. But when the mist and spume clears, you stand still, berserk and unshifted.
Coward!
Gunnaldr, you see him reel back from the watery hand, barking silently to the air.
Yeah, as soon as the watery hand emerged, Gunnaldr, with a cry, charged forward with his sword and shield, but it had tried to strike and subsided once more by the time he got there. So I think he will stand there and ready in action, so that next time it strikes out, he will slash at it.
Nearby to the three squabbling, or the two squabbling thralls, nearby to the laying prone thrall, a child of a thing steps out of the water, white as the moon, but for gold spun hair that trails down into a tail that disappears in a wake into the water, despite the many feet that she moves. Up onto the land, the gold umbilical thread disappearing into the disquiet water from where the hand had returned. And as they torment each other in her midst, she turns towards you, sees the two of you battling with the hand, and looks beyond to where Ira, Hrafngeir, and Bjorn loom. And I'll get each of you guys to roll a d20. The three of you, sorry, I mean Bjorn as well. Bjorn, Ira, and Hrafngeir. A fate die.
Interesting. I guess I'll ask just because I have a thing that I can do if it is. Is this a spell or is this just an effect that's happening as a result of?
Oh, it's just like an abstract thing I'm doing to see who the troll will target.
Perfect.
But in my mind, like the higher is better unless it's a 13, which is the definite. If you roll a 13, you're the definite target. So the higher the better, unless you get a 13. So if you want to use one of your fate die, it might be worth your while if you don't want to get trolled.
Yeah, I guess we'll see for now. I was just curious because I have a specific thing that matters if I get a spell cast at me.
So 12 it looks like, and Bjorn got a 3. So Frafengir, where are we? Wisdom save, please. DC 16.
I think I succeeded. I got a 15 on the die for a total of 17. One over.
A wicked eel runs through you, top to bottom at her summons, and wriggles within, gnawing before you can cast it from your soul. Her face remains placid as unlapped milk, unperturbed, now stalking toward you, leaving the thralls to torment each other on the causeway. And I think that's all she'll do for now. She'll stay revealed. And then at the end of her turn, we'll use a legendary action. She will use 2 of her legendary action point costs to cast another spell. And we'll break the husk of a weir eel in her fingers and cast another spell at you, Frafengir. Wisdom save again, same DC.
$10 total.
I'll give you a 15 on the die.
Yes, thank you. So
She
total of
looks-
17 again.
Yeah, her face jerks quickly, like one assessing the true threat towards you, Ira, noting the disturbance you cause with your cunning knowledge. She eyes you as the greater threat and stalks now towards you rather than to Rafgir, revealed for all to see, and some 15 feet from the battling thralls, her hair still slithering down into the rippling weir water. And then it moves on to, my initiative list is back up here. That's Broad Ira.
Ira will see this thing's eyes shift from her companion over to her, and she'll like feel the watery chill like run down her own spine. And she'll like feel her voice singing this song. It's like almost like a movie. Literally, the only thing she can hear is just her own voice singing this song in her head, and like nothing else. This like awkward silence of this thing marching towards her, and she'll like feel and hear her own voice shake, disturbing the only thing that's present in her mind. But despite that, she'll try to channel whatever she can left from Hangatyr in this moment to try to gather the courage that she needs, and she'll like feel the rattle of the bones that she had gotten from the sorcerer back in the town, using it to hopefully wield it against this creature. She'll bring the spear up and attempt to see if she can damage it. Probably not gonna be enough. Yeah, that's just a 13 to hit though.
Yeah, it thunks down into the moonstone of her skin with a rebuffing cling. She looks down at it curiously and then predatorily back toward you.
Yeah, the fear that she had tried to fight back will like magnify intensely as the spear thunks against this thing, and the the confidence, what little she had, will like melt away into near horror as this thing continues now towards her, much closer than she would prefer.
The severed, cursed hand of Tyr, shut out by Fenrir bound, looms overhead you, Hangatyr, seeking to grasp you even in its mayhem state. But beyond, in your periphery, you see the she-troll emerge from her weir home, menacing Ira, Hrafnir, and others. What do you do?
I will sprint as fast as I can directly at this thing. She's not in the water, right? She's on the water. Where is she? You muted, Denko.
Oh yeah, I was just typing because I got the initiative wrong. It's meant to be Hrafngir's turn first.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, these guys are 30 feet from her, except for Jeff, who ran up to her to attack. But you and Gunnaldr are 60 feet from her, just so for when it's your turn. But yeah, it's your turn now, Hrafngir. Sorry.
Having this feeling of primordial fear slink through me as this thing had made eye contact with me, and my stomach drops to the weir itself. I'm going to quickly, or as steadily as I can manage, draw my bow and try and hit her with an arrow. For a total of 23 on the.
It thunks into her side. The shaft goes halfway in, and like an echo, like that of something from the sea, begins to spill down from where the head's plunged in, staining the moonstone.
I would actually like to use one of my hunter points to try and pin her to either the ground or some foliage around her. She needs to make a strength savings throw. That is.
She got a 14.
I have this written down somewhere. Maybe I don't have this written down somewhere. If that's the case, it will be a 16. DC.
And she fails. Maybe the arrow plunges actually to where like hip meets her thigh bone, and kind of like wedges in there and like staunts her movement mid-step. Doesn't seem to like recoil from the fear, but certainly mechanically pinioned there for now.
Damage she's going to take. Oh, damn it. She's only going to take 5 points of damage, but as a bonus action, I would like to mark her as my quarry. So.
It is done. And that's Hangatyr's turn.
Okay, so I'm just going to run as fast as I can at this thing. So I'm going to dash to get to within range of it. And that's going to be it, I think. I can't do anything else. Yeah, so I'll just sprint as fast as I can, running at it. Actually, no, I'll run normal speed, and then I'm going to throw a spear at it, I think, instead. Might as well try. So I have this Hatred of the Other, which is when I'm fighting Jotuns and servants of them and varieties of them. +1 bonus to damage, or sorry, +1 to attack rolls, +2 to damage. It's a crit.
Yes.
So it's going to be 20. I don't know if it makes a difference, but yeah.
20 with pierce. Oh, 20 damage or 20 on the crit?
Sorry, 20. Just no, I haven't rolled any of that stuff yet. Just it hits, right? Like it's not magically.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
So it's gonna be 13 damage. Ooh, she won't like that. Sacred number or unlucky number.
Yeah, but it's not magical, right? It's just regular damage.
Yeah. Yep.
But here's the kicker. So throwing spear, piercing. Let's see what ones are done.
Piercing is the least done, so we might have to use slashing or something.
Okay, cool. So roll a D. Oh, I've got an old chart here. Sorry.
D12 for location or
D3.
3. A 2.
Cool. And a D20, please.
Big bucks, no whammy. An 11.
The spear is hurled from your grasp and whizzes through the air, cutting through it at frightening pace to embed in her mouth, slashing through one diagonal side out the other, nearly knocking her from her feet. She's dazed until the end of the encounter and gains 4 level of bleeding. This one, each turn. If she does not receive or perform a DC 15 wound-wise, blah, blah, blah. She'll have a hideous scar of the mouth. So her beauty is marred permanently by the spear through it.
Fuck, that is devastating.
Just have to look dazed. Oh, man.
It's super good.
That just changed the game.
Yeah. So I guess Hangatyr is like running, and like just like Odin throwing the first spear across the battle, he like sees his enemy and like is filled with this like, because he can't hear anything. Usually he's having all these like auditory hallucinations, but he can just hear. It's like there's no other noise, and so he has this like insane focus and just like with superhuman strength throws this spear and connects with her head. That's it for me.
That means your action will be triggered, Gunnaldr, as you uselessly cut through the watery hand of the weir troll as it tries to grasp you for a DC 14. You learn that the blade has no impact upon the summoned water, at least. But yeah, I slash through it, and bits of it sprays, but still the might of the wounded troll extends the hand out towards you. Not in friendship, so strength save, DC 14.
That's a fail.
It pulls you from your feet 20 feet into the ice and weir water.
Oh, shit.
I'll just see if there's any other immediate effects to that.
Sinking and becoming an
and
ice
you are
block.
proned. You're knocked proned.
Okay.
So you're not grappled, you're just pulled into and knocked prone inside the water. So you were close to the shore next to Hangatyr, not in it. So it only pulls you 15 feet into the water, but then you're prone under 15 feet of water. And it's black and cold down here. And you found, since it's daylight, you found Gunnmagan, Kettle, and the other man whose names escaped me, sitting down here, frozen and drowned, with Oleg Silver.
Yeah, he sees the pair of them and Canute the Black, the other one, and he just some bubbles escape his mouth as he just as he gasps. And if that's my turn now, is it?
Yep.
Yeah. So he would just try and scramble and swim his way up. I guess he's got his shield strapped to one arm and he's trying not to let go of his sword in the other hand.
And you have armor on? Okay, so
Yeah,
you need to make an athletics check at disadvantage. You can stand up from prone, half your movement, that's fine, under 15 foot of water, but you have to make an athletics check to swim. I'll say DC 17. You roll with disadvantage for all of the accoutrements you have to make progress.
Okay. So the athletics roll with advantage was 11.
So you cannot swim half your movement up. So you're kind of floundering with shield and sword in hand underwater, recoiling in bubbly horror, deaf bubbly horror at these three bodies down here and all this watered wealth. And who knows what else beyond like the extent of your seeing. But you're floundering there in the water. Only bubbles rise, the rest of you does not. And that's all of your movement, I guess, actually, right? So you've still got an action and bonus action left if you can do anything else.
Yeah, because I suppose I could use my action. Well, actually, what I would do is
dash.
I was going to think maybe dash, but I think what he's probably going to do, knowing that he's going to have to lighten the load, he'd probably drop his sword, regretfully. And I don't know. I think he would lose the sword over the shield. I don't know, because the shield is what he's sort of like focused on. Like mechanically, he's got the Hangatyr on that, but I suppose that's with any shield, right? So. Yeah, all right, maybe. So he'd probably shake off the shield and pull off his mail coif helm and see if he can just put the sword back into its scabbard and try and just claw his way back up. But I suppose it would take
an action to doff a shield. So
yeah.
Oh, cool. Okay. Meanwhile, up above, Brod will attempt to constrict the Ira. Where are we? 2 attacks, one with claw, one with tail constrict. So daze just means you guys get advantage. It doesn't mean that she has disadvantage, hey? So she takes her bleed damage, which is a satisfying 10. And then she will claw thee, Ira, for a miss, and then constrict thee for a miss. So she slashes out with her razor claws, but your shield is proof against it. And then her golden snake of hair wriggles out of the water and swoops round to try and coil you. But with holy words and physical might, you can rebuff it, and it slithers back for now umbilically into the water where Gunnaldr has disappeared into. And it's your turn. Actually, she would move and provoke opportunity of attack from you at the approach of an Odinson and slink back into the water. Smart cur that she is. So you'll get an opportunity of attack, Ira, and you will have advantage of it. She'll use her full movement to get to the water's edge.
Her movement would have been dropped to 0 from the pin.
Oh, so she tries to turn, but her hip betrays her, and she shrieks for the first time. And it's like a song where every instrument has hit the wrong note and extent of the instrument and busted, but none are there to hear the satisfying sound of her anguish. So try as she might, I guess you won't get the opportunity of attack, but she won't get to flee either. So yeah, it's your turn.
An acceptable trade, I'll have to say. Ira seeing this thing pinned now, trying to turn to slither back into the water, but unable to, will take that opportunity. Seeing it reeling from the wounds now coming from its mouth, to bring her own spear back up, attempting further as she'll seeing Hangatyr next to her, the confidence will slowly start to drip back into her after the disaster of the turn before. She'll grab hold of the spear, feeling again the rattle of the sorcerer's bracelet on her, and attempt to drive the spear in much more successfully this time with an 18.
That is the magical number. And yeah, her moon skin parts and the spear impales her.
Alrighty. So because I have the bracelet, as you put in there, that this will count as being magical, and that'll be 7 piercing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, same as the other wounds. Just thrust the spear through. When you twist it and then rip it out, ichor spills down like ink in milk, staining her and proving her mortal, at least on this plane. Her flesh destroyed by the might of the bracelet and your own knowledge. And I assume you'll stay right where you are.
Yep, right here.
Yeah. Hangatyr's en route after just hurling his spear at her. It's his turn now. Oh, sorry, no, I did it again. It's Hrafngeir. The 2 H's. Hrafngeir, then Hangatyr.
So the pin only goes until the start of my next turn. So I imagine as she shifted, her hip and leg kind of locked on the shaft of this arrow, and it eventually snaps as it gets back to me. I'm going to loose another arrow. 11 on the die for a total of 19.
That hits.
She will take 9 points of damage as another arrow. I want to say this one probably hits her in the leg, as I'm going to use another point to try and pin her again. So DC 16 strength save.
Oh, yeah, she just fails.
So another arrow, probably going from the turn of her trying to move, I get a good glimpse of her leg, and this shaft pierces through thigh and into probably calf, kind of pinning her leg together in an awkward position, so she would be unable to move. Her speed is 0 at the start of my next turn.
Rad. Hangatyr. All manner of missiles are hurling at the beast, and you are one of them.
Yeah, literally, he's gonna just like be sprinting at maximum speed. He's like throwing his spear, still has the shield, and he's just gonna like jump up, like fully into the air and try and barrel into her, as is often how he opens a battle. So I'm just gonna try and grapple her. So she needs to make an athletics.
16.
Roll off the table. 20. Yep, so I'll grab her.
She's strength and quickness, but she cannot elude you. Though you, I guess, even though see her as a surreal child, no, she's much more. She's an ancient old being.
Yeah, I don't think he sees the child at all. He sees like a hideous, twisted, like one arm longer than the other, with like a warded nose and like the sort of storybook idea of what a troll is. And that's what he sees, and that's what he's fighting. And he can feel that when he grabs. So yeah, I'm just gonna. I've moved and I've grappled, and that's it for me.
Okie doke. The lair of the weir troll. The hand will try and bring another down. Now, since Hangatyr's moved away, and Ira's more than 30 feet away, it can only really reach at one of those thralls. So one of the two thralls fighting itself, the one that's not dominated, is ripped from the dominated one's grasp and pulled down to join you in the weir water. Gunnaldr suddenly just like sploshes down and appears, bleeding and terrified, and the other turns like a Terminator to the fighting on the causeway. Gunnaldr.
Desperately clawing and now holding his breath, trying to stop the precious bubbles escaping his lungs. He'll just keep trying to claw his way up. Another athletics?
Yes, please. If you're giving rid of the shield, you won't have disadvantage, but it's still DC 17 in the conditions.
Okay, yeah. He dropped his male coif helmet as well for good measure.
Then I wish you luck.
Shit. It's another 11.
I'll give you a 17. I wanted to save it, but you not drowned.
Skeins of fate. So this time he actually quite literally feels that tugging sensation on his skein as he has a surge of strength in his arms and legs.
So with your movement, that will get you to breach the water, and with your dash, that will get you out of the water and upright. Can you make a grit check, DC 15, Gunnaldr?
Yo. That's more like it. That's a 19.
You do not have the poison condition, though you may feel the ice and water later on, the adrenal spike surging, and you're not affected mechanically from what you've just endured yet. But that will take all your turn unless you can do anything like with your bonus action.
No, I think that'll be that'll be it.
Okay.
Yeah.
So Broad is pinioned. Hey, she's zero movement. That's tricky. I think she may cast a spell at the Hangatyr since you've grappled her.
I've got my ears all stuffed. If it makes me any
Yeah. Unfortunately for Dominate, it doesn't. She just has to see you. Such is the power of her magic. She's gonna try. You're gonna try and dominate you with her last spell. Oh, sorry, I don't need to roll. You need to make a Wisdom save, DC 16.
Oh, Jesus. Okay. All right. I've got a whopping +1 to the roll. 15. I fail.
Keel just walks away.
Yeah, you hear a voice so sing-song and sweet, like stumbled upon honey in the wild. It tastes and compels you. Kill that man. In fact, just kill all the men.
Yes, he's pretty reasonable.
That's not so dissimilar to your modus operandi.
Yeah, I think like he hears that voice usually all the time. It usually sounds a bit gruffer, but that's just Odin telling him to kill all the men. Um, and so I don't think it's too much of a jump for him to see this as like something reasonable.
At this, the maddened thrall on the causeway remembers himself and sees the strife you're in and the stricken state of his companion, as your own eyes now, Hangatyr, begin to roll around in making strange constellations with their movements from within your iris. And you'll be under the sway of Brod. You get to take wisdom saves whenever you take damage, but I don't think you get to take wisdom saves on the end of your turns.
Okay. Right. Okay.
Yeah, you only get wisdom saves DC 16 when you get damaged. If you succeed at that, the spell ends. And as she's commanding thee as a free, she'll get you to relinquish your grip on her, which I guess you would all see. So maybe even though like you might not know what's like happened, you sense something strange has come over Hangatyr, that he would grapple the foeman like this and then just let her go. Possibly ensorcelled. She can't do anything though because she's still pinioned in place by the arrow in her leg, and try as she might to limp away, the agony's too great from the hunter's shaft. So it passes to Ira.
I think Ira, not knowing the extent quite yet of what's happened, will hope that if they can kill this thing, that will at least give them the time to try to untangle Hangatyr from whatever thing has sorceried him in this way, and will attempt to spear this thing one more time, which will be an 18 again to hit with advantage for 9 magical piercing.
Nice.
And then we'll bring the shield up in preparation for this thing, and then what she hopes will not be also Hangatyr.
Hrafngeir. You see the shield maiden strike the troll down. Strike the troll, but she does not fall. And Hangatyr, surprisingly, is not ripping her to shreds.
As much as I would like that to be my primary concern, it isn't yet. I'm gonna try and shoot her. Crit, 20 on the die.
Nice. Okay, so give me you get to roll your damage dice twice. So give me the damage total, and half of that is what she'll take.
Does that include my?
Yes, any dice it includes is doubled.
Roll high. All right. Roll twice or just double it?
Roll every dice that you'd normally roll twice.
Okay. Total of 17 damage. Nope, hold on. Nope, that's not including my bonus. 21 damage.
Nice.
And I'm gonna try and pin her one last time. Last 100 points.
So strength save. She gets an 18 all up.
Can't win them all.
Yeah, so the arrow strikes her, but she maybe she reaches down and pulls out in a really slow fashion, not the way you'd rip off a band-aid. Really slow, she pulls the arrow in her leg free and becomes mobile once more. But yeah, you strike her and she's quite badly wounded, though not bloodied mechanically yet. Hangatyr, the ever-present urge to kill is ramped up to insanely slaughter with abandon anything but the mistress.
Okay, well, you tell me what I have to do. Hangatyr is just going to
cut off Ira's head.
Okay, swinging. He doesn't have a weapon. He just has a shield. Because he was grappling.
Pull it off.
Okay, I'll do that.
Pull it off like a chicken.
All right, I'll try and grapple. Looking at a 27. Sorry, 26.
Her song will briefly shift from the war song that Odin has. It's the song taught to her from the old Gothi so many years ago. And your hands will slip through her like mist as I'll sing the song of Odin to not be grappled.
Yeah, he doesn't understand what's happening. Definitely some skag bullshit. And his fury is increased. Yep, that's it.
Sorry, Keel. DC 14 strength save. The hand is not willing to relinquish you. Will try and grip hold of you and pull you back into the grave of Gunmagan.
Down to Rand's Hall. Oh, for God's sake.
This time there's a concussive force as you like smash into the side of the submerged weir wall, and you see stars as well as bubbles in the frigid water down with your other guests, and the face of Gunmagan, drowned and purpled, brings to mind your oath to his mother to protect him, keep him safe, and bring him back. Your failed oath is almost paralyzingly cold down here. Gunnaldr, it's your turn.
Yeah, as that weighs more heavily on him than his bright mail, sinking him down. He sets his jaw and closes his eyes, pulls his face away from the purpled and already changing face of the dead Gunmagan and his failed oath to his Carl Gunnilla back in Gunland, and just with a wordless yell, bubbles emerging, screaming forth from his lungs, he'll try once more to pull himself free from the water. Come on, buddy. That's better. That'll be a 19 on the athletics check.
Yeah, for movement and dash, you get yourself back out of the banks of the weir.
And once more, even more desperate than last time, spluttering, and just completely different type of sort of shaking and trembling than when he skewered Bjorg back in Sudbrand. This is just a deeper like chill in his bones as he tries to scramble to his feet and get free from the edge to escape being pulled back down again, and to see how he can help on the actual field of battle up here.
Broad is going to slash at and try and constrict the Ira for a miss and a miss. 3, 3, 4, 7 have been her 4 melee attacks this encounter. Yeah, so the highest is a 13, so it's not going to do it. So even like she lets out this flurry of slashes, and like the golden snake of her hair comes out of the water once more to try and drag you down to where Gunnaldr's birthed himself from again. But your shield and song and bone bracelet of Modolf and swift feet keep you free of the wounds she'd bear you for now, somehow. And it is your turn now. Surrounded by friend and foe alike, in a manner.
Yeah, she'll watch Hangatyr's arms like pass through her as the song of Odin protects her from the hold, but will like recoil in fear after seeing that, and then kind of understanding the true extent of what's happened. But she will still continue on. I think not knowing exactly what to do or how to wrestle him from this sorcery. Will continue to strike out at this creature to hope that they can fell it, and then so that'll be another 18 for 7 magical piercing.
7 magical. She's bloodied. Which I don't know if that's like good or bad news, but yeah, she is. Her ichor now is like the black ichor welling from her is like spooling about, and she's obviously trying to get away from the danger that you and your companions pose, even sans Hangatyr.
And then she'll bring up the shield not just against the creature, but also against Hangatyr and hope.
Mate, yeah. Grim, Hrafngeir, I finally remembered it. Your start of initiative.
Seeing Hangatyr make a move towards Ira, I'm going to try and hit him. Mm. 3 on the die for a total of 10.
Haha. It's not just me rolling poorly.
Great.
I'll use my my Heftier as a Valleylander to turn that into a hit.
Yes.
Nice. Ira for the win this encounter, I think.
For a total of 8 damage.
Okay, so that's 4. Oh, sorry. I just instinctively took it because I'm always the baddie.
You can take it from her too.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, arrow strikes you and may knock some sense into you. Hangatyr, you get a save, DC 16 Wisdom save.
Christ.
All you've got to do is jump across this chasm and you're free.
Yep. Of course, I dropped the dice on the ground.
Oh, an offering. Maybe they'll look
Offering.
kindly upon you, the gods of Linoleum.
Shit! No, 6 on the die.
Yeah, the arrow strikes you and just confirms what, like the goddess, the Vanir, this godchild is telling you. Your companions are evil. They're striking you.
I don't have any companions. There's only cattle.
Oh God. Gods. The lair of the weird troll does not want to let you go, but drown you. Gunnaldr, DC 14 strength save.
Oh, for God's sake, that's a fail.
You pulled back down into the water, and you see now that the thrall pulled down here is drowned, is just like slunk down amongst the pebbles with Gunmagan, Kettle, and Canute. And it's your turn. Pardon? I missed your turn. Sorry. Yep.
Yeah, I feel like he'd be getting just so much more exhausted with each time, and this is the 3rd time now. So, and I mean, mechanically as well, I'd love to roll this next athletics one with advantage. Would I be able to remove enough heavy stuff to be able to do that?
I don't think so.
The
heavy armor takes minutes to take off.
Yeah,
It's just
and that's
not
by
even happening.
the heaviest.
If it was
thing.
light or medium armor, I'd say as an action you can destroy your armor, like cut the straps to render it useless to shake off, but not mail. Like, I don't think you could.
Yeah, no, that's very fair. So I think, yeah, certainly not giving up. And this time especially, actually, as soon as he plunges into the water, and it's that cinematic, like, shot from beneath the waves where you see him come down, it's actually the deep ocean, and there's a storm on the surface, and there's a couple of other figures hitting the water and sinking down with him. And he flashes back to that night when he was younger, when he was out fishing and was the sole survivor of a fishing trip with the other brothers of Gear, Brandy and Solby, of who are on his crew, the 2 surviving sons, and the daughter, of course, back in Carl Gunilla's household. And he's instantly back there. And back then, he was saved only by managing to catch on to a piece of debris. And so in a delirious, desperate state, he snaps back and just tries clawing again to the surface. I've been rolling like 4s and 5s on these, and this one was a 2.
Yeah, the muscles are strained and the armor grows heavier, and the more sodden and cold you become. Grim stuff. Also, to add insult to injury, you're supposed to roll DC 15 grit check when you breach the weir water. So you need to retroactively make DC 15 grit check to see if you get the poison condition till the end of your next turn,
Ooh,
which
yep.
will give you disadvantage on those swing checks.
So I passed the grit check.
Okay, cool. You stomach the punishment for now. And then it will move on from your turn. Will I scroll all the way up the kilometers to the initiative list, which is, I should just copy that for myself. Hangatyr.
I'll rush, I guess, towards Ira again and try and strangle her to death.
Yeah, I know.
It is a 18 on the die plus 6 for athletics.
Luckily, the song is up to my wisdom modifier per rest. So once again, she'll see the arms reach out to grab her. She'll sing once again the song of Odin to prevent the grapple, and your hands will sink through her like the mist of the icy lake beyond.
Yeah, he'll just roar out in rage, like unable to understand what's happening. Doesn't make sense to him. Definitely some elfish Jotun skag trick. He doesn't understand it, but he's gonna keep trying.
The lair of the weir troll will try and grab the now sensate thrall and pull him down here as well. The thrall just fails and is pulled down. So now there's another struggler down here with you, Gunnaldr, and it's your turn. Oh, sorry, no, we did your turn. It's Brod's turn. She wants to flee. Is she still pinioned though, Hrafngeir? No, she saved against the last one,
anymore,
right?
yeah.
So she's free. Oh God. She's going to disengage and use her movement to get into the water 10 feet. And that's all she can do, movement and disengage. So she's probably up to her waist in the weir water, making her way back to the safety of her lair, no doubt. And it is Ira's turn.
Seeing the creature flee, like Farju distracted from Hangatyr grabbing at her to be able to do anything about it, will like turn to see her companion in whatever haze that she's in, and will attempt to try to strike him from it, but with an 18, I think we'll miss.
The gods.
I imagine she's like trying not to kill you specifically, and she like plays it too safe, where she like can't get a good hit that'll like damage you but not kill you. So she's not able to get one at all.
Hrafngeir.
Before Broad can get away, I'm gonna loose another arrow at her. 17.
18's her AC, so it clinks off the moonstone skin.
I look with hopelessness to Ira, and I look to find Gunnaldr, who is struggling with the water.
Taking a cue from you, Bjorn will fire at the troll as she tries to escape as well. But his arrow tinks off her moonstone skin. Hangatyr.
Oh, I won't actually even need to use the spell this time then. 15 on the die will put me above that. She'll just like bring up the shield desperately to like hide behind, just enough to like deflect your arms away from her, I guess.
Yeah, he like grabs the shield. Probably is like chewing on the end of it, like snarling and slavering, trying to get at you.
The lair action will. Ooh, it can't grapple anyone because like everyone who it can grapple is in the pool already, like within its radius. but it's got another effect it can do, but it requires people to hear. I'm just wondering if the being submerged would like make the earwax come out of your ears. In a movie it would, but in real life I don't think it would.
I was wondering, yeah.
Be used to like
Waterproofed?
waterproof things, doesn't it? Like in the Middle Ages, I think it'd be used for that. I don't know.
Yeah. Okay. So it will like there'll be a song will be called up by the profaned nature around her, around this troll, but none can hear it. For goodness sake. So it's Gunnaldr's turn.
Yep. He's unsure whether he's sinking or getting closer to the surface, but he's just pumping away, clawing desperately. Yes, nat 20.
Nice. Yeah, that gets you up and free of the water and face to face with the troll as she's striding into it, the two of you coming together.
Yeah, and once again that huge, like, desperate splutter when he emerges. And I think reflexively he draws his sword. But I think that's all he would, all the actions he would have.
Okay. Broad will. Oh, she doesn't want to get tangled up with you. No, she will. She will claw you as you recoil out of, or as you like draw up out of the water for a miss, and then try and constrict you with her gold. Oh my god, for a crit fail. So she's like too cursed by chance, by polyhedral chance. She can do nothing against you. The hair like swings about. She's overcome by wounds and like the panic that's setting in by being so wounded by mortals that she strikes out and provokes opportunity of attack as she slips from view down into the icy wheel water with her swim speed increasing her stride. As she's dazed, you'll get a advantage on the strike, and she takes bleed damage as well for the last 2 turns that I forgot. And makes 2 con saves, which she succeeds at. And how'd you go, Keel?
Opportunity attack. Sorry, that's what I was just about to ask. That'll be a 14 to hit. Sorry, advantage. Yes, that'll be a 24 to hit.
That certainly hits.
That'll be 6 damage.
You cut her through the side of the face where the spear had passed through, and it cuts the last couple of tendons that were holding her jaw up and breaks the illusion of the child to reveal the true form of the trollop hag, hideous to behold. With her jaw undone too, so is her song. And Hangatyr, you come to your senses with your hands wrapped around Ira's throat, and blood spills in the air, or sprays in the air as she flees from your sword strike down into the rippling water. And then it's Ira's turn. Then Hrafngeir.
So this thing is like all the way in the water now at this point.
Yeah, she was submerged on the waist and has a 40-foot swim speed, so she's 20 foot down where Keel had been dragged before.
All right. In that case, I'll approach a little bit more towards the banks. I imagine seeing the life come back to Hangatyr's eyes and his own control come back over him. We'll take this time to try to like sketch in the mud with like the butt of her spear, the symbol of the Helm of Awe, using this time to try to add to their strength while she has a brief respite from this creature and from Hangatyr. And then will kind of wash over everybody as I'll use my conduit to channel that. So everybody will gain 6 temp HP and have +1 AC. And then I'll use my movement to approach towards the banks near where Gunnaldr is in case this thing comes back up.
Frafengear, the foe woman has gone from sight.
I know projectiles lose quite a bit of momentum as they enter the water, but just trying to prevent this thing from getting away, I'm going to use what speed I can to climb to a top of one of these like atolls next to this water, if there are any, and just fire blindly down into the water, hoping for the best.
Sure, you'll have disadvantage on the shot.
Okay,
and
so
will be within range of the hand.
Oh dear. 21.
Yeah, you shoot down into her wake, and though you do not see it, she is struck through the back by your arrow.
She will take 11 damage. Okay.
So she's pretty badly wounded, pretty badly bloodied. But it'd be hard to see with your eyes up here through the dark water. And Hangatyr, your senses are now your own.
He'll let go of Ira, and like doesn't have any time to speak, but gives a look of like, what are you gonna do? And then he's gonna run in the direction where the thing went and go in after it. I don't know if I can catch it or not, but I'm just gonna dive into the water. I'm gonna drop my shield and then dive into the water.
So action, movement. So you're 30 feet from the movement. Do you have a 40-foot movement? Or do you just have a regular 30-foot movement?
Regular 30.
We get the bonus 10 from...
My spell.
Oh, awesome. So you'd rush up and dive into the water, and you're like bearing down like a spearfish towards her, but you're 10 feet from her. She's at the bottom with the corpses and the silver.
Okay. Yep. That's it for me.
Cool. The hand will try and grab either Ira or Frafengear. I'm going to roll a fate die of my own. Odds for you, Jeff. Evens for you, Baron. It is evens, so make a strength save, Baron. Frafengear, DC 14 to resist the tea party.
16 on the die.
Yeah, so the hand smashes into you, nearly knocks you from your feet, leaves you cold and drenched, but does not drag you down to where the fray is crescendoing. Hangatyr. Oh no, that was Hangatyr, Frafengear. I think I mixed it up, did I, guys, again? Oh no, that was the Lair of the Weird Troll. Gunnaldr, you're up. Excuse me while I ramble in haste to get this ended. Gunnaldr first.
Oh, good, yeah. I kind of want to dive in, and but I don't think it's the best idea.
It's your only idea.
Yeah, because there's no more foes up here, right? She's dove in, and the hand's not smashing around at the moment. So
it seems the hand is invulnerable and linked to the troll Briod.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I think he'll hold action just in case she does jump back up, and he'll hack her down.
Okay, ready to action. And Brod will turn and dart at you, springing up off the pebbled floor of the Weirwater to like meet your charge, Hangatyr. And she will try and slash you open for a 18 hit, which is not enough. Hey, she needs a 19. And then we'll try and constrict you with the tail for a crit fail again. So I imagine you like swing with your weapon and cut one of the fat braids that would be too big and heavy for a normal person to bear, but this hag is monstrous and unnatural. And in the chaos of the water, you're not harmed by her for now, though she'll meet your charge. Then it's Ira's turn up on the banks. You're muted if you're speaking, Jeff. I'll come back to Ira when he rejoins if he's not with us. Oh no, is he back?
Am I back?
Yep. Yeah, man, we can hear you.
Sorry, my internet dropped, so I plugged in my phone real quick to try to finish it. So seeing, I guess, Hangatyr charge back down, not knowing quite what to do, Um, yeah, I think just wanting to finish it, she's actually going to charge in after, trying to swim down, spear in hand, like feeling the rattle of the bone bracelet around her that's granted some strength, and seeing Hangatyr back on their side will like rally her. She wants to finish this, so I'll use a move and a dash to try to swim down at 40 foot speed to get as close as I can to them.
Yeah, you can get down to where they are in the midst, adjacent to the troll.
Perfect, and that's with a dash.
You're at the edge of the bank, so like to dive in, I think you'd like to be able to descend easily enough. Actually, maybe like stride in and then just dropping down with the weight of your armor, sinking you down. That would be your movement. Yeah, movement to get down into their midst. You can still have an action and bonus action, but it's the getting out that's the tricky part.
Alrighty, I'll let loose the spear of Odin at this thing then and hope. Are you fucking kidding me? That's a 3 and a 4 with advantage. That'll be a miss.
Brutal. Yeah, down here in LA, she's got the advantage and she slithers like a fish away from your seeking thrusts. Hrafngeir, then Hangatyr.
I'm gonna look to Bjorn. Was Bjorn still up? Did he get pulled into the water?
Nope.
Okay, would throwing him rope be an action? Yeah. Or like calling to him to get rope or some sort of signal.
It'd be free for you to get him to come and like take rope from you or produce rope himself to like bind you to jump in, do you mean?
Just to begin the process. Yeah, just so he could start.
Yeah, he'll do that for sure. He'll rush up with his movement, with his action, take out the rope and like get ready to hurl it down in.
And doing my best, if at all possible, to track the movements of this thing through the murky water, I'm going to fire at it again.
If you natural 1, you'll hit either Ira or Hangatyr, is the stakes.
That's just 1 in 20. Okay, not a natural 1, but a 4.
Yeah, so an arrow like zips down into the water but misses everyone down there. And it's the lair, which will smash out at Bjorn now since he's got the rope, so he'll make a strength save, but he exceeds it easily and is doused but not pulled. Gunnaldr.
Yeah.
Always, sorry, my lord.
Yep. Unacceptable. I'm gonna. I think I'm gonna try and grab it and then move it to the surface.
11, DC 11. Can you even?
It's a crit with advantage, so 26 or 27 or 28, something like that.
Yeah. So then you seize her by the tongue.
Perfect, and then I'm just going to pull her towards the top. I can move at half speed, so I'm just gonna, like, with everything I have, like, I guess one grip on her. Maybe it's like the tongue. I just kick as hard as I can and try and get up.
Okay, so DC 17 athletics check.
From me?
Yep.
I have advantage on this because I'm a agent. Yep, 17 exactly.
Yeah, so you swim, you were 20 feet down, you swim half your movement, so you're 5 feet from the surface dragging this troll up by the tongue.
Perfect, yep.
Nice. Like a whale with a squid. Gunnaldr, then Broad.
Yeah, as Gunnaldr sees the shapes coalescing towards the surface, he'd dunk his arm down and help pull Hangatyr up, and with his catch.
Yeah, you could do that. Move in and drag them up for half your movement. So that'll get you 10 feet onto the shore, dragging Hangatyr and Troll up. But because you're dragging both of them, it will take your movement and dash to go in and drag them both up that far.
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah, and I've got the 40 movement from the song as well. So that's all up.
15 feet then. So nearly out of reach of the hand should it seek. Brod is grappled. She's got a better chance of killing you than, or so she thinks, than breaking the grapple. So she'll slash your face for a 26 to hit and a 15, which won't hit for the constrict. So the slash, 11, 7, 18, and 3 is 21 slashing damage.
On me?
Yep.
When I am hit with a melee weapon attack once per round, I can use my reaction to reduce the damage by 1d10 plus my level. Because I'm a berserker.
Rad.
And that will be 11 damage I reduce, so I take 10.
Yep. And then it's Ira's turn, then Hrafngeir.
Alrighty, Ira will see this thing being pulled up by Hangatyr now and attempt to swim up to meet them. I rolled athletics already and got 17 on the die, thankfully.
Nice. Yeah, so you can get up into the midst of these guys. So you're 20 feet down, so you'd be able to breach the surface with movement and then action get to 20 feet from the shore next to the troll.
Alrighty, yeah, I'll do that.
Hrafngeir, then Hangatyr.
Preparing to drop my bow and attempt to dive in after Ivra, seeing her head pop above the water, I will cancel any prior thinking and loose an arrow. 19 on the die.
To hit.
For 9 damage.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the arrow thunks into her, but yeah, as before, little evidence of its effect.
I am going to use my movement to run towards the water as well, in an attempt for all of us to kind of just encircle this creature and beat it to death.
Fair enough. Hangatyr.
Okay, I'm going to try and bite her tongue out of her mouth. I don't know what you want me to do mechanically for that, but that's what I'm going to try and do, chew her tongue.
I want you to do that. It's going to be an unarmed attack it's going to be piercing damage instead of bludgeoning.
So she automatically takes 7 at the start of my turn from being grappled by me.
Oh, and she took bleeding damage from before too. So 7 and 5 is okay. Yeah, so how'd you go? Did you make a roll?
Yes, I did. I have advantage, right? Because she's still dazed for the rest of the encounter.
Yes, ended an encounter, yep.
Okay, so then it's a 22.
Certainly.
And then it's just bludgeoning damage, which will be...
Piercing,
Unarmed damage, which is just 4.
Okay. You can biting at her mouth and ripping away chunks of her tongue, which you see it for what it is now, this long coil of evil song. But it doesn't finish her. Now she's bloody mouth, though. The troll kiss. The lair, I rolled for that, and it got a 10, which is a 5, which means on my screen it's you, Keel, who needs to make a DC 14 strength save, will be pulled down into the friggin' weir. Even randomly, you're like discriminated against by the hand.
Oh my god. 3.
Yes,
3 on the die, so that's not going to do it.
Yeah. A watery hand grabs you by the ankle and drags you down, disappeared into the water. So just as Hrafngeir's put down the rope, taken off the floaties and like the lifeboard, run over. Now you gotta
skewer her throat.
Yeah, nice. That's the so now it's your turn, Gunnaldr. Sorry, man, it's brutal.
That's all good, man. It's great. He would just try. I imagine he had his sword in hand again because he was about to try and come and just skewer her in the throat. So he'll probably sheath that underwater and then claw his way back to the surface yet again. And that'll be an 11 on the athletics check.
Yeah, probably a shock of fright goes through you as you think that Gunmagin's being given revenant life and gripped your ankle, but it's just like an exposed dead root that you can kick clear of, but still can't get up to the surface yet.
Yeah, perfect. Should I quickly do the grit check for the poison?
Yes, yeah, to far out.
Maybe I shouldn't have reminded you. That is a
too honest.
9.
Yeah, you have the poison condition till you take a short rest, hypothermia. Broad will. She can't break the grapple. She's got a better chance of killing you than breaking the grapple. So she thinks Hangatyr. So she'll rip at thee for a 23 to hit for a claw and even higher for her constrict.
Okay, those will both hit. 23. Oh, I don't have my shield, right? So yes.
Okay, so that is 8 slashing damage, and 12, 15 bludgeoning damage. You are grappled by her golden snake hair.
Okay, I will use my reaction
While you
again to reduce it a little bit.
Until this grapple ends, the creature is restrained and she can't constrict another target. So you're restrained and grappled, which is disadvantage on attacks. And she takes bleed damage. It's 10. So her head like swirls up, and the snake rips around you and like begins to choke out the life out of you like a race to death. But your strength and vitality holds out even as you both eke it in equal measure. And she drops first to her knees, struggles to rise again, and then drops sidelong. The hair uncoils and spills, snipped to the water, just as Gunnaldr breaks the surface, gasping for air to haul himself up alongside you all and the kill.
Hangatyr will continue just like chewing through this thick tongue until he manages to like sever it and then like throw it away from the body. And then look around in shock at what has happened. What else did Gunnaldr said? It was the tongue and the heart?
The tongue and the throat, and then burn them.
Okay, then if he'll remember. So he'll then like start with his fingernails like digging into the neck of the thing and like pulling out whatever's in there, and throwing it into the pile with the tongue.
Intending to burn.
Yeah.
I think that's where the camera will pan up to Odin's ceiling, leaving the Rorschach of blood and Disturbed Emir water beneath, and we'll explore it all in detail with Lutenall next session. And you guys level up from that extremely difficult encounter. And we'll pick it up next time. Thanks for playing, guys.
Thank you.
Jesus.
Rad.